Today I'm predicting every game for all 32 NFL teams, starting with the Arizona Cardinals here, going week by week, game by game. Week 1, you got Jeremiah Love, Trey McBride and company traveling to LA, take on Harbaugh, Justin Herbert, and the Chargers. And I think it's a pretty simple start here for the Cardinals. I don't really think any of them expect to do anything other than lose week 1 to start off the season 0-1. Which I do have to say, and I think the Chargers fans probably expect it, this is going to be rough. It's going to be a tough season, and honestly, I don't know where I even see a win on the schedule. I'm going to have to predict them to win a game or two, and you always know they're probably going to pull off an upset or two against a team you don't expect, so I'll probably have one of those thrown in there. But Cardinals fans, I got to apologize in advance because I know this is going to be a depressing start to the video for you. Now, this is me 4.5 hours later after predicting all 32 schedules, and I just have to say, trigger warning, I'm going to be making so many of you mad today, but it's all done with love at least. Now, it doesn't get much easier in week 2. They have the reigning Super Bowl champion Seahawks traveling to town, and it's just not going to happen. Cardinals are going to start the season 0-2, which I do want to give a little quick shout out, not sponsored or anything, to NFL Perry Pick'em here. A cool little site where you can predict all 32 NFL schedules, and that's who we're going to be using for the entire video, which Cardinals fans probably do wish at this point that your site didn't exist because they're going to go 0-3 to start the year. I just don't think there's any way they can beat the 49ers away from home. Now, week 4 could potentially be a little bit more competitive. At this point in time, who knows if Malik Neighbors is going to be back? So will Jackson Dart struggle without Neighbors? Again, Neighbors could be healthy at this point. We just don't know. Like, it doesn't sound good. And I do want to say, I am making this video way before the season starts. We have like 3 months before the regular season begins. So don't be alarmed, fellas. We're still going to be doing our regular NFL season prediction video closer to the season. So some of my predictions might very well change depending on some things that happen in the summer. But even with the Giants, in my opinion, still not being a playoff team just yet. Maybe if they got the Giants at home, I'd give them more of a chance, but yeah, have the Cardinals starting the season 0-4. So at this point in time, man, the Cardinals are well on their way to drafting Arch Manning or whoever they want at quarterback with the number 1 pick. Now, week 5, again, like, it's not good. Like, honestly, where do I predict a win here, dude? I just highly doubt, like, that offense has too many good skill position players to start the season 0-10, so I'm probably going to sneak in a win somewhere here, but I don't think it's going to be week 5 against the Lions, even though I don't know if the Lions are going to be what we've learned to expect with Dan Campbell this season. They've just lost too many players alongside that offensive line, but they still should have plenty enough this season to take down the Cardinals quite comfortably. Like, I honest to God might have them going 0-17, which would be crazy. But surely they at least find a way to grab a win in this 3-week stretch here. There's just no way they lose to the Jets, Saints, and Raiders in back-to-back-to-back weeks, right? But in week 6, again, no chance. Rams are going to beat them probably by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Rams might honestly be the best team in football this upcoming season. So do want to note, this is kind of how the entire video is going to go. Just kind of sit back, relaxing, going schedule by schedule, game by game. Again, predicting literally every single game of the 2026 NFL season, leading into week 7 where the Cardinals are going to lose again. I probably should have started this with a team other than the Cardinals. Now, week 8 against the Dallas Cowboys. And you know what, brother? I told you guys, there's just eventually the Cardinals are going to sneak out a win against somebody. And I feel like the Cowboys are the prime candidate here. So you know what? We're going to do it. We're going to pull the trigger, and it takes 8 weeks, but the Cardinals finally get their first win of the season. I know the Cowboys fans won't be happy about that, but I know you probably can agree that you dropped 1 or 2 games this season that you probably shouldn't have. And I know the Cardinals are going to be bad, dude, but they're still going to have like a really good offensive core. You know, Brissett was good last season. He's got McBride, Marvin Harrison. He's got Michael Wilson. He's got Jeremiah Love to hand the ball off to. So they're going to have some good skill position players, man. But at the same time, it's just not a good situation outside of that. But they're just too talented, too good of an offensive core to go 0-8. And I have the Cardinals finally ending the 7-game drought, week 8 against the Cowboys. But it gets worse from there. Like, it's probably the peak of the season because they're going to lose next week. There's just no chance. They beat either the Seahawks or the Rams. It's just no shot. I feel the same way week 11 against the Chiefs here. Like, as long as Mahomes stays healthy, there's just no chance that the Cardinals win. So, at this point in time, the Arizona Cardinals fall to 1-10. And again, at this point, in prime position to land the number 1 pick. And again, you got to keep in mind, fellas, like, you never know what's going to happen during the season. This is all assuming everybody stays healthy. Because if this is like a Justin Fields-led Chiefs team in week 11, the Cardinals could easily win. Like, some of these teams might lose their quarterbacks. Some of these teams might lose their entire offensive line. Who knows what's going to happen injury-wise. So there's a very realistic possibility the Cardinals win an extra game or 2, maybe even 3, because the teams that they play lose some of the most important players. So again, this prediction is just all assuming everybody stays healthy during the season, which is just not realistic. Which, you know what? I actually like the Cardinals here. I have no idea how I feel about the Commanders this season. We'll have to see once we get to their schedule how I think they're going to do. But I think this is a sneaky position for the Cardinals to win their second game of the season. That wide receiver core in Washington is diabolical. Jaden Daniels, I think he's going to play a lot better than what he did last season when he was healthy, but he doesn't have a lot to work with on offense. Not to say they're a worse team than the Cardinals. I just think they're due for a win at this point on their schedule. Now, again, the Eagles, they're an interesting team this season. Like, they'll probably not have A.J. Brown at this point in the year. He's probably going to be traded before the season even starts. Probably be traded, honestly, by the time this video comes out. I think they're going to have a weird year. Might even miss the playoffs, but they're still going to be plenty good enough to take down the Cardinals. Now, this is the most interesting stretch of the season for the Cardinals. Jets, Saints, Raiders. If you're a Cardinals fan at this point, you're probably not, like, you're probably hoping you're going to lose. Like, Carson Beck might be starting if this is really how the season goes, seeing how Carson Beck can play at starting quarterback. But if you're a Cardinals fan, you probably want to lose these games to make sure you can secure the #1 pick, because the Jets, the Saints, and the Raiders, probably not the Saints so much as the Raiders and Jets, but I'm pretty positive that these two teams are probably also going to be in the hunt for the #1 pick. Maybe the Raiders can get it back-to-back seasons. Now, week 15, you know what? I'll give the Cardinals the win here. They get the Jets at home, and they honestly have a better skill position unit than the Jets, and it's not even really close. Actually, it is kind of close. Garrett Wilson, you got Kenyon Sadiq, you got Omar Cooper now, you got Breece Hall versus, again, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, Jeremiah Love. So it's actually a lot closer than what I just said. I don't know why I said it. I'm dumb. So the two skill position units probably a little bit closer than what I said initially, but I'll give the Cardinals the nod here at home. I think the Saints should take care of them in New Orleans week 16. The Jets could be a sneaky playoff team this year. Now, week 17, man, Fernando Mendoza's probably going to be starting. Genty's probably going to be having a much better season than his rookie year. So I think the Raiders will be improved from a year ago, but I still just don't see them being good enough to beat the Cardinals, even though that doesn't mean much because the Cardinals aren't going to be good. But I do think the Cardinals actually win this game. It might ruin their shot at the #1 pick. We'll have to see. But they're not going to win again because the 49ers are going to take care of them week 18, which officially means the Cardinals, after we finish our first schedule of the video, finish the regular season with a 4-13 record, which leads us to the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, the Falcons might actually be one of the toughest teams to predict this upcoming season, because it's like, it all depends on their quarterback play. They went 8-9 a season ago, and that was with horrific quarterback play. Kirk Cousins was okay for a few weeks out of the season, but it's either Tua or it's Michael Penix, and that's not the greatest two options in the world. Maybe Tua comes out and plays like he did a couple seasons ago under Mike McDaniel, but that's not the likely option here. So starting off the season, week 1 in Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers' last ever season. I don't see Aaron Rodgers losing that game. It's like it doesn't fit the script. So this is one of those that could go either way, but I'm gonna give the Steelers the advantage at home here. Now, week 2 here against the Panthers, and the one thing the Falcons do have in their favor is the fact they're playing the NFC South, which is one of the most like average divisions in football. It's like a bunch of 8-9 teams from a year ago, and to me personally, they all feel like they're kind of the same caliber going into next year. Got to keep in mind too, Kevin Stefanski, I feel like, is a pretty massive upgrade from Raheem Morris. So with this game being at home and two teams like very even, I'm gonna go Falcons, just giving them the home nod here. Now, week 3 is gonna be tough for them to beat Green Bay. Just going to Lambeau is never easy, so I do think I'm gonna give the Packers the nod here. So obviously not the greatest of starts to the season for you Falcons fans, starting off the year 1-2, and I do think it gets a little bit worse here. Week 4, traveling to New Orleans, I think the Saints get the win. I think the Saints can be much improved this year. I mean, Jordan Tyson now added that receiver room with Chris Olave. Saints can have a better running game. Shucky's gonna be able to play for an entire season, so as long as he continues to progress, I think the Saints might actually win the division. So a pretty stinky start at 1-3 in the year. It doesn't get any easier because you got the Ravens coming into town here, and I think the Ravens do get the win. So this honestly is a nightmarish start here for the Falcons. They actually have such a tough schedule, man. They got the Bears coming to town, the 49ers coming to town. Got to travel to Bucks, gotta host the Bengals, gotta host the Chiefs. So this honestly, this might be a bad season here for the Falcons. So you know what? I'm actually gonna give them the nod here against the Bears in week 6. They're too good to start the season 1-5, so like they're gonna have to win a game that some people might expect them to lose, and I think like it'll be pretty even with them hosting the Bears. They might get a surprising win here in week 6. I mean, like they're not a bad team. They got Bijan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Stefanski's a good coach. It all just depends on that quarterback play, and you just don't know, man. So this is a tough loss for the Bears, but I'm sorry. I think the Falcons win. win here. And honestly, wouldn't be shocked if they got a win here against the 49ers. The 49ers are going to be interesting this year, man. That wide receiver room is just a big fat question mark. The 49ers are really drafted strange the last couple of seasons, and will the players they drafted pan out? You never know. But I do got the Falcons getting a very, very close win against the 49ers. So after a really bad start, they're kind of evening things out here. 2 wins against teams that you might think are superior to them, but it's going to be bad here. I do think the Buccaneers take them in Tampa Bay. I'm going to have the Buccaneers winning that game. And then I think that they're actually going to lose 2 straight at home. I think the Bengals take them down. I think the Chiefs take them down. And keep in mind, like, this is assuming everybody stays healthy. Like, if Joe Burrow's hurt, if Mahomes is hurt, obviously the Falcons are going to win that game. But this is a pretty nightmarish start to Kevin Stefanski's first season in Atlanta. It's a really tough schedule, to be honest with you. Now, things will get better, I promise you, to finish the season, but I don't know if it'll be enough to actually make the playoffs. I think they actually win an away game is that the first time this season? I think, yeah, it's the first away win against the Vikings. The Vikings, like, the quarterback play is going to be interesting. Honestly, do you take Kyler Murray and Justin Jefferson, or do you take Tua/Michael Penix and Drake London? Who knows, but I think the Falcons win this game away from home. Then I do think the Lions take them away from home. I think the Lions, again, as I've already said today, might not be as good as what we've accustomed to with Dan Campbell, but I think they'll be good enough to take down Michael Penix/Tua, whoever starts the season. But immediately have them beating the Browns. It'll be tough going up against that defense, but I do think the Falcons get the win here. Put them at 5-8 on the season. Actually, for the first time, have the Falcons winning 2 straight away games. Actually, that's 3 straight away games I have them winning. The Commanders, through our first 2 schedules, we predicted they might actually have a pretty bad year this year, in my opinion. But with that said, in Week 16 here, let's have them actually beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So good month here in the second half of the season, winning 4 out of 5. But then I do have them losing to the Saints in Week 17. I think the Saints are going to sweep them, and I do think the Panthers take care of them at home. They split the season series against them, as we do have the Falcons finishing the season 7-10. So 2 schedules predicted and 2 fan bases that want to kill me. Next team, we got the Baltimore Ravens. And I promise I'm going to do my absolute best not to trigger you guys, because you guys are crazy. It's a crazy fan base. It's going to be a weird year, you know. First time John Harbaugh's not your head coach in, what, 20 years? Obviously lost Tyler Linderbaum, but drafted an O-lineman in the first round, getting Vega that's probably going to start at left guard. At the same time, bolstered the pass rush with Trey Hendrickson being a huge signing. So with Jesse Minter coming in as new head coach, that defense definitely should be improved. But I think the number one question this year, more than the head coach, is whether or not Lamar Jackson can stay healthy, because if so, the team should be a lot better than a year ago. So let's see. Week 1 against the Indianapolis Colts, I think that's an easy win. Like, who knows? Even if Daniel Jones plays, he's not going to be 100%, I don't think, coming off that Achilles tear. They took one of the biggest steps backwards of any NFL team in this last offseason. So I think this honestly might be a relatively easy dub for the Ravens Week 1. Now, Week 2 might be trickier than what you think, because I'm telling you, the Saints are going to be a good team this year. But I think the Ravens have enough to hold them off at home. Honestly, I think this could be a little tricky. I think the Cowboys are definitely going to be improved from a year ago. And let's actually have an upset win here. Cowboys taking on the Ravens. I promise you, Ravens fans, I'm being unbiased here, because I have you dismantling my Tennessee Titans here in the first ever game we have to play against Derrick Henry. I'm actually going to be at this game. I thought it'd be sentimental, you know, the first ever game we play against Derrick Henry. So this is the first away game I'm traveling to since I watched my Titans beat Tom Brady in his last ever game as a Patriot in the playoffs. So hopefully I can bring the good vibes there. I don't think so, though. I'm predicting a Titans loss. Quickly got past that Week 3 loss. I didn't want to marinate on it, but I do have the Ravens. A good start to the season. And I think that continues, because in Week 5, I think they take down the Falcons away from home. I think they take down the Browns away from home. So just like that, man, they're 5-1 in the season, only loss being Week 3 away from home. Now, Week 7 against the Bengals could be tough, but you know what? At home, I think they're going to grab the dub here. But unfortunately, I do think they lose away from home. Traveling to Buffalo, take on Josh Allen and Joe Brady. I think that offense in Buffalo is going to be nasty. I really think it is. So I think they lose a shootout here. So wait, wrong click, misclick. But 6-2, not a bad start to the season at all. Now, 2 tough games back-to-back. Week 9, home against the Jags. Week 10, home against the Chargers. And I have yet to have them lose a game at home. And I honestly think they'll probably drop one of these 2. but the question is against which. You know, let's have them beat the Jags. I think they should be able to handle them, but I think with the storyline, Harbaugh playing against his brother's former team that just fired him, I think the Chargers get it done here. It's going to be close, but I think it's going to be a little upset loss for the Ravens here. But again, a 7-3 start to the season, not bad at all. And I think they win 2 straight. I think they take care of the Panthers quite easily. And the Texans, I think, might be one of the most disappointing teams in football this season. CJ Stroud's going to have to take a huge step forward for me to believe again. That offensive line is just so bad, dude. I don't really believe the running game. Like, I know David Montgomery's going to be fine. It's going to be an improvement. But again, just behind that offensive line, I just don't think David Montgomery or Woody Marks can do anything crazy. I think the Ravens take care of the Texans here. And in Week 14, I think the Buccaneers are actually very underrated. I think they honestly might have one of the most underrated rosters from top to bottom in the National Football League. Mike Evans is going to be a huge loss, and that team's going to look weird without him, but I still think they're a loaded squad. Reuben Bain was an incredible pick for him, but I do think the Ravens win this one, improving their record to 10-3 on the year. And I think this might be one of the biggest upset losses I have on their schedule. I do, for some reason, I don't know, it's just like, feels like fate. You know, I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is going to lose his last home game to the Ravens. So I am going to go Steelers here, but still 10-4, an incredible start to the season. And still, they're going to have a good last month. Could be on track for the 1 seed. I do have them dismantling the Browns here. I don't think it's going to be close, but I do think Joe Burrow splits the season series against them. They beat them at home in Week 7, but I think they do lose a close one in Week 17. I think Trey Hendrickson does lose his first game in Cincinnati as a member of somebody that's not the Bengals, but still 11-5, super impressive, finishing the season off with win against the Steelers, and Jesse Minter's first season as head coach, finishing the year 12-5, which again, could very easily earn themselves the 1 seed. So I know I have some crazy losses on here, but it just happens in football. So like, I don't think Ravens fans would be mad at me for this, right? Like 12-5 is a good season. Now, honestly, since I've given it deeper thought, just from like a pure safety standpoint, since I'm traveling to Baltimore Week 4, I'm just going to go ahead and say I have the Ravens going 17-0 here. If you see me in Baltimore, no punches thrown, please. Don't try to kill me. I'm just a nice young boy. I got you going 17-0 fair and square. Oh, we got the Buffalo Bills next. Year 1 with Joe Brady at the helm, and with him unleashed with Josh Allen, I feel like it's a match made in heaven, dude. The secondary should be somewhat improved. You also got DJ Moore coming over in a big trade, which I think we all can agree they kind of overpaid a little bit for him. But all that really matters, they have Josh Allen and Joe Brady, and it's just going to be a nasty offense. Now, Week 1, what a matchup to start. What a matchup to test that offense against arguably the best defense in football. Away from home in Houston, and I think they get it done. I just don't trust that Houston offensive line at all. I think it's going to be their downfall all season long. Now, Week 2 against the Lions, man, what a freaking start to the season for the Bills. You know what? I'm going to shock the world here. 4 extremely tough games to open up. 3 of them, though, luckily for the Bills, at home. I'm going to have them starting the season 4-0. Again, Lions tough. Chargers tough. The reigning AFC champions tough. I think the Bills are good enough to get off to an extremely hot start to this season and beginning the year 4-0 before dropping their first game of the season to the LA Rams here. The Rams are just so freaking good, dude. Them traveling, honest to God, I was about to say them traveling to LA is going to be tough, but like at the same time, there's probably more Bills fans there than Rams fans. But it's still, the Rams they're so good, dude. Wait, I clicked the wrong button. Sorry, Bills fans. 4-1. You didn't get that win. But still, with the extremely tough schedule they have to start the season for the first month, dude, that's a great start. Well, on their way to the 1 seed, because there's no chance they lose to the Raiders Week 6. We already saw at the last schedule prediction, I do have them beating the Ravens at home. I mean, that's going to be an incredible watch. Just they're probably both going to score 30 points, but I think the Bills do just enough to get the win there. 2 away games in a row. I think they take care of the Vikings. I think they take care of the Jets. Now, funny enough, like with this being the Bills, I know it's a brand new head coach in Joe Brady, I guess, who has been there, but it's not Sean McDermott anymore. But the funny thing is, I'm more confident in them winning their first 4 games of the season with that extremely tough schedule to open up than I'm more confident in that than them winning all 3 games against the Raiders, Vikings, and Jets away from home. Like, I would not be shocked if they drop one of these 3 games they're not supposed to at all. That's just like, that's what the Bills do. But just for now, I think they get all 3 wins. Dolphins might be the worst team in football, so I think the Bills easily get that win. 9-1. Now, do I have to say 9-1? What a start to the season. Probably have the best record in football up to this point, but it's a really tough month stretch. And honestly, if I'm a Bills fan, I'm happy if I can win 2 out of the next 4. Honestly, we're real happy if I can win 3 out of the next 5. If they can win 3 out of these 5 games here, there's a really strong chance they earn the AFC 1 seed. But will they? You know what? They easily take down the Dolphins. They easily take down the Jets. But it's all coming down to week 12 through week 16 here. Don't have them losing at home this season, and I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Chiefs get the win here. It's going to be close as it always is, but I think Patrick Mahomes comes in, gets the dub. Close game, but they're due for a loss at home. And also, I do think they lose to the Patriots week 13. So I know that's a little disappointing to hear as a Bills fan. Maybe you thought you were going to go 16-1, but not so fast. But I do think they follow that up with that big win away from home. It's tough to win in Lambeau, but I think they have enough to take down the Packers, who might not have Josh Jacobs. Like, for all we know, he's suspended for the entire season, but I guess this is the NFL. I think we've all witnessed it doesn't really matter what you do sometimes. The NFL is going to reinstate you, unless you're Josh Gordon and you're smoking marijuana. But regardless, Josh Jacobs or not, I think the Bills win this game. And also a tough game against the Bears. At home, I think they get the win. So I think going 2-2 out of this stretch should make Bills fans very happy, but it really all matters what happens against the Broncos here. Away from home, it's always tough going to Denver. So will they finish the season 14-3 or 13-4? Honestly, I think the Broncos, they got worse this offseason. I know they got Jalen Waddle, but like some weird players they let go. They did some weird things, man. Like Sean Payton's a weird guy. Like I really don't know what to expect from them this year. It'd be really hard, I think, to replicate that success. I still think they're a playoff team, but I say all that to say I think the Bills do get this win here, finishing the season 14-3, which is insane. If this is how the script plays out, this is one of the best first seasons we'd ever seen from a first-year head coach. So Joe Brady, if this comes to fruition, go ahead, put him in the Hall of Fame. Next on the schedule, no pun intended, we got the Carolina Panthers, who, like many teams today, I think their entire season relies on their quarterback play. Throughout just a few years of pro football, I think we've already seen like 5 different versions of Bryce Young. We've seen the Heisman winner. We've seen the guy that looks like he's 4'2". It's just like we've seen the potential, but he's yet to put it together for more than just a few games at a time, man. So you're going to have to see through my prediction here how I think Bryce Young's going to do this upcoming year. I think we'll see a huge step forward from Tech McMillan. Like, we might see Tech McMillan be like a top 5 receiver this year. That's how much potential I think that guy's got. But again, for him specifically, it's just going to depend on his quarterback play. And their season begins with a super tough matchup against a pretty good Bears team at home. So like, I think they're going to make it close, but I do think they start the season off with a loss. And it doesn't get much better here in week 2. I do think they're probably a better team from top to bottom than the Falcons, but the Falcons with this game at home, I don't know. I think the Falcons get the dub here. Now, I think they finally get on the board here week 3 against the Browns, although I do feel like this is just one of those games where like Bryce Young puts up like 100 yards, throws 2 picks, and keeps the Browns in the game. But I think they finally get the first win here, and I think this is going to be their first shocker of the season. I think the Lions are a better football team, but you know how it is. Bryce Young always pulls out a couple of surprise performances every single season. I think this is one of them. I don't think the Lions have that great of a defense, so I think this is like one of those random shootout games the Panthers find themselves in like 2 or 3 times a season. I think the Panthers win, and I think both teams scored more than like 30 points. So that's one of their big surprise wins early on in the season. And that's not going to happen, though, after a really disgusting early week 5 bye. That's always horrible to have that early of a bye. I think they get beat by the Eagles pretty handily. Oh, it's tough. Like, it's kind of a coin flip here, week 7, but I do think the Panthers take care of the Bucs at home before losing 2 straight to 2 really good football teams. It's just too much to overcome. There's just no way. I don't think they can beat the Packers away from home. Also, don't think they have enough to take down the Broncos even at home here. Now, unfortunately for you Panthers fans, this is where your cortisol levels do probably begin to spike, because I do have you losing away from home to the Saints in week 10 here, having your record fall to 3-6 on the year, which is kind of tough, man, because I know it was a Mickey Mouser last year, but even at 8-9, this was a playoff team a year ago that didn't really lose anybody in the offseason, so they should be doing better than the 3-6 year, but it's a tough schedule, dude, and doesn't really get that much easier. So I just don't see them being able to beat the Ravens week 11, so that's another loss. I don't see them being able to beat the Bucs in week 12, so that's another loss. Maybe they can sneak in a win away from home against the Vikings, and maybe they can beat the Saints week 14 at home, but I don't see them beating the Bengals at home. Maybe they can sneak in a win away from home against the Steelers, although if this was to happen, it's going to be super close. There's just no chance they can beat the reigning Super Bowl champions, so the Seahawks can win that one. Do have them beating the Falcons at home, splitting that season series. Titans. So yeah, I know for you Panthers fans, 7-10 looks horrible, and I know that definitely doesn't get you a playoff spot, but like all things considered, that's only a game worse than a year ago. And again, you got to keep in mind, this is a much tougher schedule than what they faced a year ago. So 7-10, I know you're not happy with it, but it's not, in my opinion, it's not catastrophic. But you know what, dude? Let's actually spice things up here and go out of order and predict the record of my Tennessee Titans, which I promise, no bias at all here. And if I'm being like completely honest with you guys, I think by the end of the season, I would honestly be shocked if we didn't finish the year 17-0, which takes us to the Bears, where in week 1, I do have them beating the Panthers, obviously. Dude, obviously I'm trolling. We're going back to the Titans, where in week 1, unfortunately, my Tennessee Titans have been the main source of my embarrassment in my life the past couple of seasons, predicting them to finish anything but last place in every single NFL season prediction video I do. And I really believe this is the year where we no longer finish in last place. Robert Saleh is ready to turn this franchise around. Starting off week 1 against his former team, there's just no chance, dude, he loses to the Jets. If he loses to his former team and Geno Smith at quarterback in week 1, dude, we might as well go 0-17. Like, that would be the worst possible start to a season I could ever imagine. And that's saying a lot. And hopefully we win too, because I'm going to be at this game, and it'll be our last ever home opener at Nissan Stadium, or at least the old Nissan Stadium. So many memories I have in that stadium, but unfortunately, more bad than good. But still, memories are memories. I'm going to miss the stadium. New stadium's going to be fun, but I will actually, I'm going to be at week 1. I'm going to be at week 2, and I'm going to be at week 4. That's going to be interesting away from home, as I've already mentioned. Then I'm going to be at week 17. Aaron Rodgers, last time I get to see him in person. Hopefully, he's still healthy at that point. And then the last ever home game at the old Nissan Stadium. So 4 games at minimum I'm going to this year. But anyways, I say that to say I don't think we beat the Eagles, unfortunately. Imagine, though, the vibes around Nashville if we start the season off 2-0. As you guys have seen in like my Eagles Super Bowl videos that I've gone to, I've brought my good pal Hunter, who is actually going with me to this game in week 2. So hopefully he can repay me for the 2 times I bought him Super Bowl tickets and have his team lose. So I can actually have good vibes for once. I think he's already witnessed his team win the Super Bowl. So like, bite me, dude. I went with him to Philadelphia a few years ago, like the year we traded AJ Brown and it got our GM fired because AJ Brown had like 200 yards against us. So I think we're due for a game that my Titans beat his Eagles. But it's I can't predict it. Can't do it. Now, week 3. What a matchup here. I am so mad at the NFL. This is not a primetime game. Like, yeah, I know Titans haven't been good. Giants haven't been good. Even though the Giants haven't been good, and they still get 15 like primetime games a year. I am a little aggravated though, because like this is Cam Ward versus Jackson Dart, and like, shouldn't the NFL be trying to like build up some of the young stars? And like, what a rivalry that would be, like putting Cam Ward and Jackson Dart on the main stage in primetime football. It's the perfect opportunity for that to be the case, especially given the fact they already get the Giants a ton of primetime games. But no, Cam Ward, the first ever number 1 overall pick to go 2 straight years without a single primetime game. Not even a Thursday night game. Do like, bite me. Anyways, just for that reason, I'm pissed off. Give my Titans to win. Like, Malik Neighbors, a very good chance he's not healthy at this point. I like our weapons better. And this have some bias in it, but I like Cam Ward as a quarterback better. I like Brian Daboll. He's going to be scheming up some nonsense this week against his former team that fired him. So I like the vibes of my Tennessee Titans this week. Giants do have the better defense, so it kind of all depends on how our offensive line holds up. But I like our skill players better, especially that's me saying Malik Neighbors is not going to be healthy. I predict a Carnell Tate masterclass. We took Cordell Flott from the Giants as well. So I don't know. I like our chances here. Give me a good 2-1 start to the season. I'd be very, very happy with that. But this is probably going to be the second loss I have witnessed going into week 4. Again, I'm traveling to this game first ever time we have taken on Derrick Henry, which that so many emotions are gonna be running through my veins this game. But I would love to win it. I would absolutely love more than anything to win that game, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I would rather win this game in week 4 than week 2 against the Eagles, but I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. But here, week 5 against the Houston Texans, and like, call me crazy, but I think we win this game too. You know what? I'll go ahead and tell you, I think the Texans went away from home in week 18, but I'm not going to lie to you, man. I really like our chances here. Like, this just feels like a game that we're going to win. Again, if we can beat the Giants front 7, like the Giants front 7 might be one of the few in football that actually rival the Texans front 7. But this game at home, like this might actually be the biggest shock win of the season. I honestly feel like the Texans could win any game with their defense, but they also could lose any game with that horrible offensive line. They might have one of the worst offensive lines in football, man. Again, I don't really trust CJ Stroud at all. Like, he's gonna have to prove to me that he can be the CJ Stroud of old, because the last few years he's been wonky. But I don't like that offensive line at all. I think we'll take advantage of that. Robert Saleh is gonna scheme up some craziness. And I think we get this dub, which leads us into a disappointing week 6. I think the Colts, I've already mentioned it today, are one of the, they've regressed more than any team in football from the offseason. But I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up. I think we do lose that game away from home. I think we take down the Browns. Like, we were one of the few teams, or like one of our few wins last year was against the Browns away from home. So like, if we can do that last year with the terrible team that we had, we can do it with the much improved team that we have this year, especially if everybody can stay healthy. So I think we're actually 4-4 at this point. I don't think there's any way we could, unfortunately, take down the Bengals. So I think we go to 4-5, fall to 4-5 on the year. And again, I think we can beat the Jags at home. Like, this is just wishful thinking here, honestly. This is probably a little bit of bias. Like, 99% of the schedules out there that are being predicted probably have the Jags win this game. But I have hope in this one. 5-5 on the year. Nothing too crazy. I don't feel like there's too much bias in this one just so far. I do think the Cowboys beat us in week 11. I do think the Jags take us away from home, so that does immediately like drop us to 5-7. But I do think we take down the Commanders, which I think I've predicted against the Commanders in every single time they popped up on the schedule so far, and that's probably gonna be pretty indicative of what I think their final schedule is gonna be once we get to them. Like, that wide receiver room might be one of the worst in football, especially behind Terry Mack. Their running back room is one of the worst in football. I think we take care of them at home to improve our record to 6-7. I'm 31 years old pointing that out. Week 14, unfortunately, I don't think we can beat Dan Campbell. We're going to lose that one, but then we win week 15 against the Colts. Then week 16 against the Raiders. They beat us in Las Vegas last year. I think we get revenge here. That was one of our grossest games of the year. We are horrible. I think Cam Ward is gonna he's gonna be eyeing this game because that was like the worst game of his career by far. I think we win that one. It all comes down to week 17, brother. If we win this game, we can make it to the playoffs. If we lose, probably not. Even if we win this game, maybe we don't get a wild card spot. But unfortunately, I do think the Steelers take it. So that would mean out of the 4 games I'm attending, at least at this point in time, I might attend more. That's the 4 games I already have scheduled. That means 3 of those 4 games, I would be witnessing losses, which that's actually kind of fitting. I have bad luck, very bad luck going to games. I used all my luck up with the Red Sox. I went to 17 Red Sox games as a young boy before they lost. I was 17-0. And ever since then, I've had a lot of bad luck. A lot of bad luck in my life attending games, especially football games. But still, as a Tennessee Titans fan, 8-9, I would be ecstatic, dude. We have been one of the worst teams in football the last 3 years. It has been horrible. Ever since the A.J. Brown trade in 2022, oh my God. Like it's been night and day, this era of Titans football versus like the Vrabel, Derrick Henry era from 2018 to 2022. So like, 8 wins, man. That's more wins than what we've gotten the last 2 years combined. So this right here, honestly, for like comparing my emotions as a Titans fan, like if we went 8-9, it would probably be the same way Chiefs fans would feel about a 17-0 record. So like, even though more than likely an 8-9 record means we missed the playoffs, dude, I would be the happiest man on the planet if we could see this big of an improvement this upcoming season. I do want you guys to let me know in the comments, like, am I being unrealistic? Like, I know there's some crazy wins. Like, a lot of you probably think we get swept by the Texans and Jags. I know a lot of you probably think we come in last place again, and 8-9 probably means we don't come in last place. But let me know, am I being dumb? Am I being a dumb hick again? Now it's actually Bears time. So the games we've already predicted through some of the other schedules, we have them beating the Panthers week 1. Now keep in mind, week 6 was kind of an upset pick earlier. We had the Falcons beating them, and that's going to stand. And then no surprise, we had the Bills beating them in week 15. But the rest of this schedule's fair game. Interesting matchup in week 2, as I've been pretty harsh on the Vikings. And I think that's going to continue. I think the Bears, they start the season off 2-0. And you know what? I think I've given the Eagles every game so far. I think the Bears win this one at home. Like, the Eagles are more than likely not going to have A.J. Brown. So the Bears might actually have the better skill position players in this game. To get this game at home, I think they grabbed a dub. And again, week 4, no chance they lose to the Jets. Now, I do think they're going to end up dropping 2 in a row because it's going to be tough to go to Lambeau. I think the Packers win this one, which again, a little upset loss away from home against the Falcons in week 6. And then week 7 and week 8, that's tough, dude. How having to play against literally the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year. I do, though, think the Bears can take down the Patriots, and I don't think it's going to be that tough of a ball game. I think they'll win by at least a touchdown, but then I think it'll be pretty tough for them to win away from home against the Seahawks, so I will give the Seahawks that one. So 5-4 through week 8, not horrible, not spectacular, but still has them right on pace to make the playoffs, which I do think this will be tough. Week 9 against the Bucs. The Bucs are a very good team from top to bottom, but I do think the Bears can get it done here in week number 9. Now, week 11, I do think the Saints could pull off a couple crazy upset wins this year, but I will give the Bears the edge here, which improves their record to 7-4 on the year. Then, obviously, the Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell Bowl, week 12 away from home in Detroit. I don't think the Lions are necessarily playoff locks this year. They obviously missed last year. But you know what? I think Dan Campbell will win this one. It'll be close, but I think they do pull off the upset. Oh, now this is another one that I do think Bears fans will be angry about, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Jags pull this one off. The front seven is just crazy, man. Jags got a really good front seven, crazy pass rush. Every team's due for a little stinker every now and then, so I'll drop 2 straight games that they very easily could win. But they do follow up the 2 disappointing losses with a win against the Dolphins here, and it shouldn't even be close. And obviously, they lose week 15 away from home in Buffalo. So 8-6, things really could go either way to finish off the season. Like, obviously, you could finish 8-9, but luckily for you Bears fans, I think you end off with an absolute bang, beating the Packers at home, beating the Lions at home, and sweeping the Vikings, which means they finish off the season 11-6, which very easily could be good enough to win the NFC North. Next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. So we do already have them losing to the Ravens week 7, but have them beating my Titans, have them beating the Falcons, already have them beating the Panthers away from home, and then splitting the season series against the Ravens, beating them at home, which means they're off to a pretty good start, dude, sitting at 4-1 on the year. Going into week 1, though, I wouldn't be surprised if this was an upset. Like, any team that has an overpowering front seven is going to be a tough matchup for the Bengals, with the weakness of their entire team being their offensive line. So, like, a 4-1 start going into things is great and all, and I promise you this isn't going to be indicative of their season, but I actually do think they end up dropping the first 2 games of the season to the Buccaneers and the Texans. So 0-2 to start the year is not great and all, but I do think they take down the Steelers. I think they can take down the Jags. I don't think week 5 is any question at all. So right now, they're sitting at 7-3, which is incredible, dude. I mean, that gives them a shot to get the 1 seed, honestly. Wait a minute, can I actually flip-flop here? I'm allowed one flip-flop. I'm actually going to have the Bengals start off 0-3 on the year. I'm going to give Steelers the edge, that front 7, TJ Watt. I think they'll overpower that Bengals offensive line at home, but have the Bengals winning the other game in Cincinnati week 10. So 7-4. Not bad. They can still get the 1 seed. I know they might be panicking starting the season off 0-3. And again, I know the Jags got a crazy front 7, so they could very easily take this one, and the Bengals could start the year 0-4. I think I predicted against the Commanders literally every single time they popped up on the schedule, so I'm going to continue that trend. Honestly, the Commanders might go 0-17 in my prediction. We'll have to see. Now, we'll say I do think the Bengals are due for an upset loss. Like, I know you might say the Bucs were an upset loss. I think the Saints win. Like, I don't know why. I just have a feeling. Every team drops a game or 2 that they're not supposed to, and I think this is one of those. The Saints are a good team. They're going to win some games they're not supposed to. This might be one of them in a shootout. Now, week 13, they're going to take care of the Browns, which, I'm going to go ahead and have them sweeping the Browns in the season series, which, again, they seem to always drop a game they're not supposed to the Browns just because that front 7 with Myles Garrett's typically pretty nasty. But I'm going to go ahead, give them the benefit of the doubt, have them sweeping the Browns this year. I do think the Chiefs have enough to get it done. They're going to beat the Bengals week 14, with the Bengals beating the Colts in week 16, which means Joey B, Jamar Chase, and the Bengals should be right back in the playoffs like they belong. Oh, God, we got the Browns next. So you got a feeling after this that Browns fans out there are all going to be rooting for my downfall. They're going to be rooting for my suffering. Panthers week 3 is a loss. Ravens week 6 a loss. Have them losing to my Titans, which is obviously going to make everybody mad. Also dropping week 13 to the Bengals, dropping week 14 to the Falcons, and obviously getting swept by both the Ravens and Bengals. So yep, as you see, not too great. Currently stand at 0-7 on the year. The only question at this point is, are the Bengals going to finish with the number 1 pick? Because, week 1, I don't see them beating the Jags. I don't see them beating the Buccaneers. Don't see them beating the Steelers either. Now, at this point, I know the schedule's all over the place, but they're 0-10 on the year. Week 5, though, I do believe they get their first win of the season. The Browns are a bad team. Don't get me wrong. But like, I don't feel like talent-wise from top to bottom, they're 1-10 level. But it's just like the quarterback situation is the main thing, man. Like maybe Deshaun comes out, starts, and actually plays like he did during his Texan days. But that's been like 5 years ago, so you can't really count on that. Shedeur was terrible last year. Dylan Gabriel was Dylan Gabriel. Maybe Taylon Green could be the next Cam Newton. But it's like they have some weapons. Like Jerry Jeudy, I don't think is as bad as what he played last year. They obviously got Casey Concepcion, and then like the rumors are Denzel Boston's probably been the best skill player at OTAs. Harold Fannin was fan-freaking-tastic his rookie season. Judkins, if he's healthy, he should be great too. They got an okay offensive line, obviously some good players on defense, aka Myles Garrett. So with all the games I already have predicted as a loss, like there's a very good chance that they'll like sneak out a win or two, maybe even 3. But it's just like they're not good enough are talented enough for me to confidently predict any of these games to be a win. Like I already don't know about this Jets game. It's like I know the Jets did a ton of free agency and they had a ton of draft picks, but I still don't think they're going to be good at all. Like Geno Smith is their quarterback, and Geno Smith might honestly be worse than Deshaun Watson. So it's funny because like even though I have the Browns at 1-10, I feel like the Jets fans right now are more mad at me than what the Browns fans are. But hey, sometimes you can't make everybody happy. Now week 8, got the Steelers winning again. Week 9, got the Saints winning. No chance. Oh, you know what, actually? You know what? This is a game that I feel like the Browns could win. I'm going to do it. They're 2-12 on the year at this point. The Texans' offensive line is going to be their downfall, and it's going to lose them a game or 2, maybe even 3 that they're not supposed to. And if a team's going to take advantage of that terrible offensive line that can rattle, and in that situation with a rattle CJ Stroud, which we've seen definitely can be the case for the last few years, the offensive line has really hindered his confidence. If anybody can do this, the Browns with Myles Garrett. So honestly, dude, I think this is a prime position for the Browns to pull an upset, bringing their win total to 2. Might just be enough for them not to get the number 1 pick. Because in week 12, I still think they have enough to take down the Raiders, especially at home. Like the Raiders, I know, like they're better. Mendoza's going to be good, I think, but they're still so far away, man. Their number 1 receiver is freaking Trey Tucker, dude. Like, get out of here. But anyways, I think the Browns win that one. Week 15, I think they could make it tough for Jackson Dart, but I think Jackson Dart and the Giants get it done. In week 17, another one where I do think the Browns could sneak one out here. Like, at this point in time, dude, if the Colts are having a stinky season, which I think they might, maybe you see, like, an Anthony Richardson, or if he's not traded, maybe a Riley Leonard get a start here. But I still think the Colts get it done. I mean, the Colts might be a fringe wildcard team, possibly, or they could just have another catastrophic season in the second half. But regardless, I think that they'll have just enough to get past the Browns, even though this could be an upset here, which does bring our Cleveland Browns official prediction to 3-14 on the season, which I feel like that would probably be a little disappointing for you Browns fans. But hey, at the same time, this type of a season could very easily land you a Jeremiah Smith, could land you a Cam Coleman, it could land you an Arch Manning or a Dante Moore. So if there's any positives to take from this, at least you got that. Ooh, next we got the Dallas Cowboys. And really quick, something that I've never talked about in my videos before is I have a cameo. I've had one literally for like a year and a half, and I've never promoted it ever. I've literally just had the link to it in all the descriptions of my videos, and I've just never promoted it. So if you, for whatever reason, I don't know why you would, but if you want a cameo from yours truly, you can go to the link in the description box below. Some people want me to wish them a happy birthday. Some people want me to help them do their fantasy draft. I don't know. I've got some crazy requests before, but it just came to my mind that I've never promoted it. I've had people ask me to do one before, and like I don't know why. who am I? The link is in the description box below, or you probably can just search me on Cameo. I actually feel really scummy even promoting that, but I felt like it'd just be like, I don't know, good for me to have one because you guys asked for it anyway. So like again, like I'm sorry for being a sellout here, but if you want to book me on Cameo, you can. It'll probably be the one and only time I ever promote it. Honestly, I might promote it again. So I don't know why I just lied then, but I might do it one other time. I don't know. Give me a break. So a few games already predicted for the Cowboys. We already have them with the upset win over the Ravens week 3. As it immediately evens itself out, as, I mean, it's the Cowboys, so that they do things like this sometimes. Big shocker, have them losing to the Cardinals week 8. And then, unfortunately, I do have them beating my Tennessee Titans at home in week 11. But let's see, brother. Are we going to have the Dallas Cowboys back in the playoffs? which week 1 going to be an interesting start, man. It's not going to be easy traveling to New Jersey in John Harbaugh's first ever game as a Giant, but I think the Cowboys have enough to get it done. That Giants front seven is kind of scary, so I could see them taking over the game, but I feel pretty confident in saying the Cowboys should grab this dub here, as I feel pretty confident as well they should grab the dub in week 2. I swear, I feel like I've already predicted like 7 losses for the Commanders, so Commanders fans, I honestly, like, you can click off the video. I probably wouldn't be too excited about your schedule at this point, but surprising enough, I had the Giants starting the season off 3-0, but I do have them actually dropping back-to-back games here. I do think the Texans front seven will take over this game, as like the Giants could do, but I do think the Texans grab this dub and the Cowboys lose their first game of the season, then surprisingly at home, have them losing a game to the Bucs. The Bucs are a very good team, and I predict against them a lot today, which there are going to be some games they drop, some games surprisingly they do win, and I think this is one of those games where they do take down the Cowboys. And, like, the Cowboys are all over the place, and, like, I think that's just fitting for the Dallas Cowboys franchise, especially over, like, the last 6, 10, 20 years, honestly. So, like, it's going to be all over the place here. So, like, 2 games you might have thought I'd have them winning, and then 2 games you thought I'd probably have them losing here, which, honestly, let's have them dropping a game at Lambeau, have the Packers winning that one. But you know what? Let's have them winning away from home against the Philadelphia Eagles, which so many Cowboys fans will lose their freaking minds if you go and beat the Eagles week 7 away from home and then immediately at home lose to the Cardinals. But I do believe they follow that up with wins against the Colts, a win at home against the 49ers. But this is a close one. And like I said, they beat my Titans week 11. Their schedule at this point has them at 7-4, which I do think that the Eagles return the favor. Like, obviously, I typically have the home team winning the home games when they kind of split the season series and then the away team losing. But again, the Cowboys are just a weird franchise. Let's get the Eagles winning, getting revenge from that week 7 matchup. The week 13, man, is tough. I just don't see them beating the Seahawks. Like, I know the Seahawks might actually take a step backwards this year. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl again. They're probably not even going to win their own division. But they're still going to be a very, very good football team and good enough to beat week 13 at home, which their schedule right now is only 7-6, and that team that I think is going to beat out the Seahawks for that division, the Rams. It's going to be tough here, brother. Yeah, the Rams winning this one at home, bringing the Cowboys record to 500 through week 16. So the question is, do they finish off strong and make the playoffs, or they collapse, miss the playoffs yet again this year? Oh, it's a tough one. You know what? Let's get week 18 out of the way. I do think they sweep the Commanders. So again, the Commanders, they honest to God, might already have 10 losses on their schedule. Week 16, actually give me the Jags here. Well, again, a game I think the front seven is going to take over. Probably actually, like I say that, it still might end up being like a 28-24 ball game. Then week 17, does Jackson Dart get on the board here? Take down the Cowboys? I don't think so. I think they beat them away from home week 1. They'll beat them at home week 17, finishing the season 9-8. But the big question at this point is whether or not a 9-8 record will be good enough to grab a wild card spot. Next up, we got the Broncos. So from the games that we've already predicted today, we had them beating the Cardinals week 7, beating the Panthers week 9, and losing to the Bills at home in week 16. Dude, it's actually an extremely tough first 6 weeks. We have the Chiefs, Jags, Rams, Niners, Chargers, Seahawks. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. Like, there's a world where they lose the first 6 weeks of the season. It's not going to happen, but, like, it's just such a tough schedule, man. Like, we got to keep in mind, this is a team that was, like, a crazy quarterback injury away from making the Super Bowl. But at the same time, I don't know if they got better or worse in the offseason. Lost some big pieces on defense. They bring in Jalen Waddle on offense, so like Bo Nixon have a really good weapon to throw to now. Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, all those other fringe number 3 receivers. So they got a pretty good wide receiver room there. The running back room is strange, but it's probably, as long as J.K. Dobbins can stay healthy, going to be the best they've had since Sean Payton's been there. Dobbins, obviously R.J. Harvey, and the newly drafted Jonah Coleman. So maybe the offense is better. Maybe the defense isn't as dominant as it was a year ago. They still should be a very, very competitive football team. Now, week 1, I do think the Chiefs grab the dub here. I feel like the Chiefs are going to have literally everything to prove this year, and they want to take that division back. I just feel like it's the prime situation for the Chiefs to come out all guns a-blazing, playing A+ football, and to grab this dub. And again, who knows if Bo Nix is going to be like 100% healthy at this point. I feel like he should be. Might take him a couple games to get his legs underneath him. No pun intended. Now, week 2, I do think they take care of the Jags, and then it gets extremely tough week 3. I think I predicted the Rams to win every single game that's popped up on our schedule today, and I think that's going to continue. It's going to be tough for them, honestly, dude, the Rams got to lose a game, sooner rather than later, right? Which obviously we'll get more of a deep dive once we get to their schedule. But you know what? I think the Broncos actually grabbed this game at home. How about that? Broncos start the season off 2-1 before actually losing 2 games in a row away from home. 2 extremely tough matchups. I still don't know about the 49ers' entire wide receiver room situation. I feel like it's going to be kind of diabolical, but I do think these 2 teams are really good. And for me, honestly too, dude, I think the Broncos could beat the Seahawks. So it's a really strange first 6 weeks, but honestly, with the teams on their schedule, getting to week 7, 3-3, I feel like is a massive dub, and obviously have them beating the Cardinals. And then week 8 here against the Chiefs, I do think they could get revenge on them. And you know what? We'll go ahead, give them the W. So just like that, dude, that's 6-3 through the first 9 weeks. Obviously had them losing week 16 to the Bills. I think they should easily take care of the Raiders. Obviously easily take care of the Dolphins and Jets and the Raiders again. Honestly, this is one of those fringe games, but I think I could see the Steelers winning this one. Ooh, the game that should have been in the conference championship last year. It should be Bo Nix versus Drake May here. And you know what? I think the Broncos win this, and I think the Broncos get revenge on the Chargers, finishing the season off 12-5, which yet again, I guess could be good enough for a first round bye if they get a few tiebreakers. So with the very tough schedule that they have this season, I feel like 12-5 is honestly a pretty good season. Now it's Dan Campbell time. So we've already gone through 7 of their games, have them losing to the Bills, losing to the Panthers, which is kind of surprising, but not a shocker, got them beating the Cardinals. Then 3 wins in a row we've already predicted from week 12 to week 14 over the Bears, Falcons, and my Tennessee Titans. Which I do have to say, they start the season off with a very tricky game, and I know I've already mentioned them a lot today, but honest to God, I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints actually won. And you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to, unfortunately, have Dan Campbell and the Lions starting off the season 0-2, but of course, I got them beating the Jets, but still, through week 5, 2-3, they'd probably be a little disappointed, which is exactly why I know that the Packers, I think, are going to have a really strong team this year, but I do have them beating the Packers, beating the Vikings, which, dude, the Vikings are another team. I'm actually scared to make it to their schedule because I don't think I've predicted them to win a game yet. But then, obviously, got them beating the Dolphins as well, which I'm sure the Dolphins will pull off, a surprising win or two, but I do think the Dolphins, any win would be surprising to the Dolphins. I think they're the worst team in football. So through week 9, considering, the other games that we've added, they're 8-4 in the year, which is not bad at all, but then they got 2 tough games in week 10 and week 11. Patriots at home, Bucks at home. I think they'll split these 2, beating the Patriots and then losing to the Buccaneers. Taking us to week 15, which, you know what? The Vikings got to win a game. They're not going to go 0-17. They've got to win at least 1 or 2 divisional games this year. I have them beating the Lions at home. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if this was an upset loss here. Giants over the Lions, that front 7. The Lions' weakness is that offensive line right now, which is crazy considering it was their strength just a few years ago. So I do think the Giants take advantage of that, get an upset win here, but I do think, surprisingly, the Lions will sweep the Packers, finishing off 10-7, which that should be good enough for a wild card spot, right? Which, speaking of the Packers, so even with me just predicting them to get swept by the Lions, we still got them 4-4 on the year with the games we've already predicted. Already have them beating the Falcons, Buccaneers, Bears, and Cowboys. Then obviously, as we just mentioned, got swept by the Lions, then lose away from home to the Bears to split that season series. So not a bad starting point where actually, you know what, let's give the Vikings one of their few wins of the season. Then of course, they're going to beat the Jets, no question. So still sitting around 500, and it is going to be really interesting to see how the offense does with Romeo Doubs now gone, which is they still got 6 number 2 receivers on their team. Josh Jacobs just got arrested today, so that's interesting. Don't know how that's going to play out. I think I already mentioned that. Who knows? It's not Josh Gordon smoking marijuana, so he might not get suspended, but at the same time could get suspended for the entire year. It's who knows? I don't know how serious it is. So I'm assuming Josh Jacobs is going to play, but even even if he didn't, I don't know how much that would change many of these predictions. We go all the way down to week 8 now, which, hold on, I missed it. We already had them beating the Panthers, so that's another dub for them. I do think the Patriots would get them at home. There's just absolutely no chance the Packers get swept by the Vikings. It was even hard enough for me to predict the Vikings to beat in week 1. So quite comfortably, I think they get the dub in week 10 at Lambeau. Ooh, it gets tough, dude. So I don't think they're going to be able to beat the Rams in Los Angeles, so I will give that one to the Rams, which does put the Packers record at 7-7 on the year. I've been kind of deep-throating the Saints today. Been kind of all over the Saints today, and that's not going to continue. So we'll give the win to the Packers there. Again, the Dolphins very well, like they might go 0-17 in this video today. they'll win a game, maybe a singular game. That wide receiver room is just one of the worst I've ever seen, dude. But we'll give it to the Packers. Then week 17, man. Packers versus Texans. It's a tough one. Like, the Texans are just one of those teams, man. They legit can come out any week and play like a Super Bowl contender for how good that front seven is. At the same time, the offensive line is so bad that I remember a Will Levis-led Titans team about beat them a couple years ago because that offensive line for the Texans is so bad. But regardless, I do think it'll be a close one, but the Packers I have winning, making them the second straight NFC North team in this video to finish the season with a 10-7 record. Which is funny with how things have gone today. I feel like every NFC North team outside the Vikings will probably make the playoffs. Houston Texans up next. It's not the greatest of starts here for the Texans as we have their record sitting at 3-5 from all the games that we've already predicted. Have them losing week 1 to the Bills. That's even with the big win against the Bengals in week 2. Have them beating the Cowboys, losing to my Titans. Which I don't know if that's more controversial than the week 10 loss to the Browns, but I just feel like that's one of the games the Texans are going to lose. And also big losses to the Ravens and another loss to the Packers in week 17 before beating my Titans in week 18. So let's see if they can improve this record and maybe give themselves a wild card spot in week 3. I think they should be able to handle the Colts. You know what? I'll just go ahead and have them sweeping the Colts. I just really don't think the Colts are a good football team. I think they're definitely going to regress quite a bit from what they did last year, even though they had a diabolical second half of the season. Daniel Jones, I don't even know if he's going to be fully healthy, and if he is, it's going to be like Kirk Cousins coming off of his Achilles tear. So like a lot of variables. They got worse too. Like their draft was iffy. They lost some good players. Like they gave Alec Pierce $1 billion. So I think the Texans should be able to handle the Colts both times. So that already got the record back up to 500 at 5-5 on the year. Now week 6 against the Jags, this will be definitely an interesting matchup to watch. Like two front sevens that are incredible. I think I just lean Jags here week 6 at home. Then week 7, two teams again with really good front sevens. Like I know the Giants no longer have Dexter Lawrence, but they got incredible pass rush. But I think, I don't know, at home, I think I am going to give the Texans the edge here, which that's another one that could go either way, so the Texans still sit at 6-6. I do think, though, the Chargers should be able to handle them in Week 9 in Los Angeles. If Joe Alda's healthy, they got two of the best young tackles in football, an incredible offensive line, so that sets their record back to 6-7, which takes us to Week 13. I have given the Steelers a few surprising wins today, but I don't know. I just, even in Pittsburgh, I can't see Aaron Rodgers be able to run around and win against that front seven of the Texans, so I will give the Texans the advantage there and also give them the advantage in week 14. I'm going to continue to predict against the Commanders until an opportunity presents itself. So we currently have the Texans sitting at 8-7 on the year. I do think they split the season series with the Jags, so we're going to have them winning week 15, but I don't think there's any chance to beat the Eagles in week 16. Bring the Texans record to 9-8 on the season, which I don't know if that's good enough to make a playoff spot. Could be, who knows? Oh God, dude, Colts fans are going to want me dead. So from the games that we've already predicted on other schedules, the Colts start off at 2-6. So I really don't find it realistic that the Colts make the playoffs. But let's see. Not going to count them out just yet. There's just no way they beat the Chiefs, though. That's just not going to happen. So they do start the season off 0-3. Like, even though I don't think the Colts are going to be a good football team and they're playing away from home against the Commanders, I think I've predicted the Commanders to lose every single game. So, like, actually, I wonder, do I just give the Commanders their first win here and just go full force into the story that the Colts are going to have one of the worst seasons in football? Which Colts fans they might hope for that, dude. Because if you have a bad season, which I feel like they're due for, dude, you could do the Andrew Luck thing all over again. Get the number 1 pick, maybe get Arch Manning, or maybe get Dante Moore, maybe even get get like a Jeremiah Smith. That receiver core is pretty bad now. Alec Pierce getting $1 trillion, losing Michael Pittman. Josh Downs is the two, who's not bad, obviously. Jonathan Taylor's getting older, but he still should be good this year. Offensive line's wishy-washy, not the greatest pass rush. Defense is iffy. They got Sauce. They don't have a first-round pick next year either, now that I think about that. So maybe they don't want to do the whole have a bad season, get a top pick thing, because they don't have one. Holy crap, dude. Dude, the Colts are in such a bad spot, and I promise you, I'm not even just saying that as a Titans fan. Like, God, I'm gonna do it, man. I'm gonna start the Colts off, goodness gracious, dude, with 5 consecutive losses before, funny enough, beating my Tennessee Titans for the first one of the season all the way in week 6. Now, the question is, can they compound some wins here? Honestly, I think they might have enough to take down the Vikings here. I don't think they can get past the Jags. I think the Jags are just too good. We already had them losing to the Cowboys. Could they be like one of the few wins the Dolphins have all year? Probably not. I think the Colts should take them down quite comfortably. Now, again, I feel like the Giants should be able to win this game. But at the same time, the Colts, they're not gonna only win like 5 games, I don't think. So this is a spot where I think they do grab a dub, which it could go either way. Absolutely zero chance that they beat the Eagles, which takes them into week 18, where honestly, this could be a situation where the Jags might have the division clinched at this point. They might just be resting their starters. So just for that, I think I am going to give the Colts the win again, not because I think they're the better football team. This is a competitive game. I think the Jags win, but I'm going to put a little bit of consideration to the fact that I do think the Jags they have the division locked down at this point, so they'll probably rest their starters, which means the Colts should be able to win this game and finish the year 6-11, which I think is going to be quite comfortably bad enough to finish dead last in the AFC South, which as a Titans fan will make me so happy. It's about time somebody else locked that down. Interesting that all the AFC South teams are back to back. So I suppose it's Jacksonville Jag time, which we've already predicted 12 of their games with the games we have predicted, sitting their record at 500. Win week 1 against the Browns, L week 2 against the Broncos. Predicted a loss to the Bengals in week 4. In division wins against the Texans and Colts, both at home, before losing 2 in a row to the Ravens and my Titans. Then got them beating my Titans in week 12 in Jacksonville before beating the Bears in a big away upset in week 13. Got them losing an in-division game in the Texans week 15, beating the Cowboys away from home. Then had them losing week 18 to the Colts just because I said I thought the Jags would probably be resting their starters at this point. But let's see if that would actually be the case. Now, in week 3, against the Patriots, and honest to God, with the Patriots' weakness really being their offensive line, I definitely could see the Jags winning this game, which means they get off to a 2-1 start, I guess 2-2 after losing to the Bengals. And honestly, dude, this is another game where I really feel like the Jags could probably upset the Eagles here. Honestly, I don't even know if the Jags would be the underdog, especially playing this game at home. That front 7 going against that offensive line, which is still pretty freaking good. Got great tackles, obviously, in Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. The interior is a little bit weaker than what we're accustomed to. But it's just like, I don't know if that offense really has enough firepower anymore. After A.J. Brown is going to be traded more than likely. Saquon's getting older, but should still be good. It's just like it's Jalen Hurts' fault. I just don't trust him against the Jags defense, especially against that front 7. I feel like this is going to be an ugly game, but I still feel like the Jags can muster up 21, 24 points and beat them by maybe 24-14. So you know what? We'll give Jags the advantage here at home, which leads us all the way to week 11, where, again, it'll be tough here, actually. Honestly, probably closer than what a lot of you guys think. I'm very tempted to go the Giants here, but I just think as a whole, the offense for the Jags right now is quite a bit better. And honestly, if they didn't trade Dexter Lawrence, I wouldn't say this, but I do think the Jags have the edge, no pun intended, on the front 7. I'll go the experienced quarterback in Trevor Lawrence over the youngster in Jackson Dart, and there's a good chance that Jackson Dart's injured at this point in time. Was talking about Aaron Rodgers running around against good front 7s. I think at home, the Jags could take care of said Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. And then, again, I'm going to continue to predict against the Commanders every single game. Like, they must have the toughest schedule of all time. Jags win that one, rest their starters in week 18, finishing the season 11-6, quite comfortably winning the AFC South. Next up, we have ourselves a big one, which with the games we've already predicted up to this point on their schedule, even though it's against some pretty good competition, have their record sitting at 6-1, which could mean the Chiefs are well on their way from missing the playoffs for the first time in a million years last year to maybe getting themselves a first-round bye. which easy ones out of the way, there's just no chance, right? No chance to drop a game to either Dolphins or Raiders, even though they're playing both these games away from home. So they start the season off 4-0, and I do think they should be able to take down the Chargers at home. And I'm kind of assuming that Rashee Rice is not in jail. like if he's not in jail, he should be playing, right? Dude, he might. I don't know, man. The fact that matter is kind of crazy. Like, the odds of him not being in jail aren't it's like plus 450 that he's not in jail. That's not good. But again, I'm predicting the schedule that he's not in jail and he's actually playing football for the Kansas City Chiefs the entire season. So they do start the season off 5-0. If he's in jail, it could be a different story. But I do have them losing their first game of the season, Week 7 against the Seahawks. The Seahawks are still going to be good. I do foresee them taking a minor step backwards, but should still be good enough to take down the Chiefs at home, which does mean the Chiefs will be dropping back-to-back weeks. So that's extremely tough games to play back-to-back weeks away from home, going from Seattle to Denver. But they get back on track with the win against the Jets, probably by 1,000,000 points, and they beat the Falcons the following week. And then consecutive wins again against the Cardinals and Bills. So that's a tough game, but I do think they win that one. But then the winning streak comes to an end, as it's going to be tough to beat the Rams at home in Los Angeles. So that's their first loss in about a month, which has their record sitting pretty at 10-3 on the season. So they play their cards right here, brother, and they could earn themselves the AFC 1 seed, which I think they should be able to take down the Patriots. I know we haven't got to the Patriots schedule yet, but they might take the biggest step backwards of any team in football this year. I don't think they got that much better. And again, at this point in time, A.J. Brown hasn't been traded to him. It sounds like it's a guarantee, so that sentiment might change a little bit. The addition of A.J. Brown for the Patriots might help them. How do I say this? It might help them not go so much backwards, but even with A.J. Brown, I just don't think you're going to see them win as many games just because their schedule is that much tougher. I hate people saying they weren't a good team last year, because I don't care if you have the weakest schedule of all time. To be able to make it to the Super Bowl, you still got to be a good team. But they were exposed in the Super Bowl against a really good team in the Seahawks. Their schedule is going to be tremendously tougher. So I say all that to say, don't be shocked they lose to the Chiefs here. That was a big spiel, but we'll get more on the Patriots later. So Week 16, I think they should be able to take care of the 49ers, but in Week 17, I do think that the Chargers are a good enough team to take one of the games this year against the Chiefs, so I will have the Chargers winning this game at home. Now, the question here at 12-4 is they could rest their starters, but at the same time, they're probably competing for a first-round bye, so if that's the case, they're going to play their starters, hence beating the Raiders, finishing the season 13-4, which again, might be good enough for the 1 seed. Next up, staying in division with the Raiders. Unfortunately, as much as I love Mendoza, this is about to be one of the grossest schedules of the entire video, because I've already predicted 8 of their games and they're all losses. No faith at all, which again, you don't know when Mendoza's actually going to start playing. There's a very good chance that Kirk Cousins is the starter for at least 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month, maybe a little bit longer, but I do think eventually we are going to see Mendoza play. But even if he does play, dude, it's you really, kind of like Cam Ward last year, you really can't take much from this first season, because outside of Brock Bowers, which I will say Brock Bowers is head and shoulders above any target that Kim Ward had last year, but that receiver room is pretty bad. Not as bad as the Dolphins have, as that's going to be an amazing matchup in Week 1, but still pretty bad for number 1 pick. And that offensive line, even though they made some additions, still pretty bad. Lindenbaum's going to be a big improvement, but you're going to have to give Mendoza at least a second year to really start giving him that true evaluation. So even if the Raiders going 2-15 or 1-16, doesn't mean Mendoza's a bust at all. So let's just get that out of the way. It's just throwing the Trey Tucker, Jalen Naylor, Jack Beck, Dante Thornton, no, absolutely not. But I do think, even though it's probably not going to be Mendoza starting, I do think the Raiders get the win Week 1, which is crazy. They have better weapons than what the Dolphins do, and that's insane. We'll get to the Dolphins in a minute. They might actually go 0-17 on my schedule prediction. That's actually a realistic possibility. Now, Week 2, don't think there's really any chance that they can beat the Chargers, so that's their first loss of the season, and definitely not the last. And again, the Week 3 matchup against the Saints might be a little bit closer than what I've kind of mentioned in this video. I've given giving the Saints a lot of goo. I do think the Saints are going to win this one. So far they're 1-3 on the season, and it's going to lead into 1-4 because I just don't think they can beat the Patriots. Which I'm assuming at this point, if this is how the season is actually gone, Mendoza's probably starting, which is it's definitely not a good situation going into Week 7 against the Rams. So the Rams definitely win that one. Now, if Mendoza's starting, you know what? I'm going to give him his first career win here against the Jets, Week 8. And it's tough because I do feel like the Jets probably have a better team from top to bottom. I just feel like this is going to be one of those games. Geno Smith playing against his former team. I mean, heck, at this point, it could be Cade Klubnik because the Jets could probably be 0-7 at that point. And if that's the case, might as well just throw in Klubnik, see what he can do. But honestly, for Mendoza's sake, the best possible thing is for him to have an okay season to show his the promise that he really has and that talent and be competitive in ball games. But at the same time, finish with a top 3 pick. So maybe at worst, he can get a Cam Coleman next year to be his number 1 receiver because that's what this team needs desperately. And I'm really wondering if that's how they set things up because they know they're going to need Mendoza to have themselves a number 1 receiver. So maybe they finish with a top 5 pick. Let's say they finish with a number 2 pick and get Jeremiah Smith. So you give Fernando Mendoza, Jeremiah Smith, Brock Bowers to throw to for probably the next 10 seasons. Also with Ashton Jeanty in the backfield. Obviously, you got to beef up that offensive line a little bit and add some receivers outside of Jeremiah Smith or at worst case, let's say Cam Coleman. That's a pretty good situation for Mendoza going into year number 2. So don't be mad, Raiders fans, if you don't have a good season because it might be the best thing for your future. Which leads me into more bad news because, honestly, I don't see another win on their schedule. I don't think they can beat the Niners. They absolutely can't beat the Seahawks. It's got the Seahawks winning there. And then I don't think they can beat the Chargers. So that's actually it. That's a little disappointing. 2-15, I think, is the worst record we've seen today. So, yeah, with that, we obviously have to see what the Dolphins are going to do. But if this is how the season goes, the Raiders really could end up with the number 1 pick, which, again, could be worst case scenario because they could trade down to somebody who wants an Arch Manning or Dante Moore and maybe pick up an extra 1 or 2 first-round picks, which would be incredible for Mendoza's future. So, again, this is bad on the outside looking in, but is probably the best thing for this franchise. Next, we head to California, which we've already predicted 10 of their games, dude, and they're sitting pretty. 7-3 on the season. I mean, could be on their way to either, at least one of the AFC West or maybe getting a 1 seed. We had the Chiefs having a pretty crazy schedule, but maybe the Chargers can beat them out here, which in Week 4, you know what, dude? I think the Chargers can beat the Seahawks. Even in Seattle, this is crazy coming right out the gate, but you know what, dude? I'm a believer in the Chargers this season. Screw it, dude. They'll beat the reigning Super Bowl champions. I mean, I think they have one of the best, if not the best, offensive line in football. Got a great pass rush. I actually really like the Akeem Mesidor pick. It's just John Harbaugh football. As long as Amari and Hampton can stay healthy, dude, I think they're going to be good. Obviously, I just had them beating the reigning Super Bowl champions, which Week 5, they're beating the Broncos, another good team they're taking down. They do lose to the Chiefs away from home. Now, Week 8, what a matchup this would be at this point in time. They're 4-2, taking on probably the Super Bowl favorites, the LA Rams, which I was about to say this is an away game, but it's weird. It's the same stadium. How do you even call it? It feels bad for the Rams just being one of their home games, but I do think the Rams win. I think they're the better team, which that's not saying anything bad about the Chargers. The Rams are just probably the best team in football, but I do think they take this L, which is their 3rd loss of the season, but overall, the record still stands at 8-4. Now, we don't even got to talk about it. They're going to beat the Jets easily. Honestly, I think they take down the Patriots quite easily as well. Now, the Bucs, as you've seen today, are a sneaky team. We haven't got their schedule yet, and I think they're going to surprise people with a win here and take down the Chargers. Obviously, Week 14, they're beating the Raiders. Now, Week 15, let's go Week 16 here. Obviously, they're going to beat the Dolphins. Now, the question is now, do they finish 11-6 or 12-5? You know what? As good as the Chargers have been with this schedule prediction, I think the Niners sneak one out here. It's not really to say they're the better team. I don't know. This is just one of those, I got a sneaky suspicion, which is not bad at all for the Chargers. 11-6 on the season, which should be, easy enough to make the playoffs. And honestly, even though they're not earning a 1 seed with an 11-6 record, I think we had the Chiefs going 13-4. Even with the 11-6 record and no 1 seed, the Chargers are still a good enough team to go on a legitimate Super Bowl run as long as everybody's healthy. which for our next team, we're not traveling too far. Now, this is an interesting one, because I think, in my opinion, the Rams are probably my Super Bowl favorite going into next year. So I have to see how that plays out in the schedule to see if maybe I have them going 15-2, maybe 16-1, or I don't know, maybe I have them pulling together a few stinkers, maybe going 13-3. Which, through our predictions so far, we've already predicted 9 of their games. We have them 8-1, and they have beaten some pretty freaking good football teams, dude. Like, their only loss so far is week 3 away from home in Denver. It's just hard to win games in Denver. We have them beating the Bills. We have them beating the Chargers. Have them beating the Packers, beating the Chiefs, beating the Cowboys. So some really strong teams that they've already beaten. So let's see, man, if they really can make it to a 14-15 win season. Now, I do think they win their opening 2 games. I think the Giants actually make it extremely close, and I could see them pulling the upset here, but I think they should comfortably take down the 49ers. They might squeak past the Giants, but let's say a field goal or so, closer than what the experts predict here. Now, as mentioned, I do think they lose to the Broncos. Now, week 4 could be tough. Like, I don't know, man. It's just like in Philly, this is probably a primetime game. I know the information's already out there, but I don't know off the top of my head. I just think Philly will be rocking, and I think, like, even though the Rams, I think, are the better team, this is just a vibes game. This is just a vibes game, and the Rams do lose their second game of the season, which, surprisingly, as Super Bowl favorites, would only start the season 2-2, but don't fret. They're going to get on a heater here, as obviously they're going to beat the Commanders. Dude, I'm not kidding you. I might already have the Commanders predicted to lose like 10 or 11 games, and that's sad, because Jaden Daniels is a good quarterback. It's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. It has them winning every game from week 5 to week 13. And I'm not going to lie to you, I think they beat the 49ers away from home too. So that's immediately a 12-2 record. That's like 9 weeks without losing a football game. Actually, it's 10 weeks without losing a football game. Now it comes down to week 16, brother. I honestly... You know what? Let's get crazy here. Let's just get wild. I think they beat the Seahawks away from home. I think they sweep the Seahawks. So that's nice. 14-2 with the potential to go 15-2, but I've mentioned them time and time again, and they're due for a loss. They're not going to finish the season with what, like 12? Is that 12 straight wins? Would be 13, actually, I think. If my math is right, keep in mind, I'm from Alabama, my IQ is probably like in the 80s. But I do think a shocker is in order. Tampa Bay at home, week 17. I think the Buccaneers pull off the upset, but 14-3. Probably going to be one of the best records we see today. And I do think, unless somebody shocks me in the second half of this video, the Rams should earn themselves the NFC's 1 seed. And I don't even think it'd be that close. Oh, God. Like, honestly, dude, this might be the origin of the hantavirus. 11 Dolphins games already predicted, and all 11 are losses. And I just want to say, Dolphins fans, I'm honest to God rooting for you. I am a massive Malik Willis fan, and I think he is a good quarterback, just put in a terrible situation. I really hope they're not just like purposely setting him up for failure. Like, I really, like, they gave him a good contract. 3 years was like 60-70 mil. Like, they're paying him a lot of money, and I just really am hoping for him and his future. They're not setting him up to just have a stinker just to replace him next year in the draft. Like, I'm really hoping that's not the case. I'm really hoping what's happening is they really are tanking for the number 1 pick. But what I think they want to do, hopefully, is get that number 1 pick and trade down to maybe 2 or 3, because it's probably going to be 2 quarterbacks that go at the top of the draft. So they possibly could trade down from 1 to 3 and pick up 2, maybe even 3 extra first-round picks and still get Jeremiah Smith at the number 3. That wouldn't be too shabby, but this team has so many holes. Like, a very underwhelming offensive line. Like, Achane is like the only guaranteed stud on the offense, really. I think Malik's going to be fine. He just doesn't have good weapons. I mean, Jalen Tolbert, they drafted Chris Bell, Tutu Atwell, Malik Washington, Taj Washington, who they got a bunch of receivers in the mid rounds, but it's like, that's just not enough. Like, it's just not enough at all. So I just like don't see like how you can, like, do you think this team can win more than 2 or 3 games? If that, dude. I don't even know if I'm going to get 2 wins on their schedule, for being honest. But I say all that to say, like, despite the bad season, I just really hope Malik Willis plays good individually. I want him to have a good season. I want him to be the starter there for the next 5-6 years. So he's such a good dude, man. Because as a Titans fan, man, just had such a bad situation around him, and I feel like it's just like deja deja vu, but at least this time he got paid, so that's good. He's set for life. Anyways, bad news. Let's get the bad news out of the way, which I don't think that's possible. It's all gonna be bad news. They're gonna lose to the 49ers. That's gonna happen. Let's get all the guaranteed losses out of the way. They're more than likely gonna lose to the Patriots. They're both times get swept by the Patriots. So it really comes down to these 3 games, whether or not the Dolphins can get a win or 2. So like, I think they can beat the Jets at home. I think they can do that. Even that's quite a bit of a stretch. But I think they'll at least win 1 game against the Jets. The Jets will get them at home. Like, here's the week 4 that I think they could pull the upset. The Minnesota Vikings, as you guys have seen today, we haven't got their schedule. I do think they're going to have a bad season. Like, rather not Kevin O'Connell gets fired by having another bad season. I don't think so. But I think they're due for a very underwhelming year. Now, it's just like, I'm going to do it. Away from home, they got to pull off at least 1 upset, right? Like the Jets from last year won a couple games. If they can win a couple games without Garrett Wilson pretty much the entire year, I think the Dolphins and Malik Willis can squeeze out a win or 2. So 2-15, man. That's so bad. But that should be able to get them, even if they don't end up with the number 1 pick because some tiebreakers. I do think we have another team, maybe 2 teams with 2-15 records upcoming. But even if they don't finish with the number 1 pick, like maybe they finish with pick 2 or 3, they could go ahead and lock in Jeremiah Smith, and that would be a pretty good weapon for Malik Willis to throw to for the rest of his contract. Oh, God, dude. I really feel like my Minnesota Vikings prediction here is probably going to be the prediction that makes me the most hated man on the internet. I'm just a dumb hick. I don't know. Like, I make Madden videos for crying out loud, dude. This isn't supposed to be taken serious. I mean, I'm trying, I'm giving real input. But, there's always a team or two that, you don't expect to have diabolical seasons that end up having diabolical seasons. And as you see here, I already have the Vikings pretty much out of the playoffs. From all the games we've already predicted, the record currently stands at 2-9. The question is, how close to 500 can they actually get? It's just I don't trust Kyler Murray. I don't trust JJ McCarthy, obviously. The running back room might be one of the worst in football. I think Justin Jefferson is going to suffer yet again another season. They drafted Caleb Banks, what was it, number 18 or number 19 overall? That was one of those underwhelming picks of the first round. Their secondary is pretty horrible. Harrison Smith is gone, so the vibes are just bad. The 1-year Band-Aids at quarterback don't really pan out. Even Daniel Jones obviously turned out to be pretty good for the Colts, but what's he done, what's he done in the grand scheme of things? I don't know. I just feel like the Vikings have really bad vibes right now, and that is really sad for Justin Jefferson. But maybe again, this is the best thing for the Minnesota Vikings in their future, because if they do finish with a really bad season, there's a really good chance to get themselves their quarterback of the future if it's not JJ McCarthy. Let's see how bad the damage really is. Now, again, another team I've been all over today is the Buccaneers, and yeah, they pull off some surprising wins. We've yet to get their actual schedule. But also, they're a team that I wouldn't be shocked if they lost a couple stinker games like this one. I actually had the Vikings winning week 1 against the Packers. I just feel like it's going to happen. They lose to the Bears. I think they actually beat the Buccaneers here, crazy enough, with how bad I think their season is going to go. So as Vikings fans, you're over the moon. Oh my God, with Kyler Murray or whoever ends up starting quarterback, we're 2-1. We're off to a playoff caliber season. But immediately, they lose to the Dolphins. That just completely going to ruin their season. And they lose to the Dolphins at home, by the way. Then they travel to New Orleans, which I think they lose that game. And that's going to be a total of 6 losses in a row, which I do think the losing streak ends here, week 11. I know kind of crazy with how badass they're going to be beating the 49ers. But again, I don't think the 49ers are going to be that great either. I just think they're due for a win. They're not 3 or 4 win team bad. But just, again, sometimes how the cookie crumbles. I already feel bad enough having them beat the freaking Packers and Bucks. But I do see them sneaking in a win here against the 49ers before dropping 2 against 2 very mediocre NFC South teams. I would say average, not mediocre, very average NFC South teams. That language just sounds better. The Patriots will win that game. Their fan base is just gonna hate me, dude. And I hope you come back and get to prove me wrong. I don't want you to have bad seasons. Again, it's just how things go sometimes. Not every team can have a 17-0 record. But I do think the Vikings beat the Commanders. I think they beat the Jets, finishing the season 6-11, which isn't that bad. I mean, it's bad, but it's not like the 3 or 4 wins that I really was predicting. God, dude, but I say that. I haven't predicted the Commanders to win yet. The Commanders might honestly finish with the NFL's worst record. Not what I was expecting at all, but it really might end up happening. We'll have to see. Next, we have the reigning AFC champion New England Patriots, who had one of the easiest schedules in NFL history a year ago, arguably the easiest path to a Super Bowl ever, and with the first place, much improved, much tougher schedule. How much of a dip are we going to see this season? And again, I do want to say, like, I'm making these predictions with the assumption that A.J. Brown's going to be a Patriot, because as of right now, that's definitely the most likely scenario. What he gets traded for, who knows, but the assumption right now is he's going to be a New England Patriot. I mean, regardless, like, the receiver room is going to be a lot better. I mean, you got Romeo Doubs already, so for Drake May to have A.J. Brown potentially and Romeo Doubs to throw to, it's not a bad 1-2 punch whatsoever. I mean, already a lot better than what they had last year to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. And after inserting all the games that we've already predicted, it's pretty mediocre at a 6-6 record, 500 through 12 games. And like, the question now is like whether or not they actually make the playoffs. Like, how big of a letdown would that be if after making it all the way to the Super Bowl last year, you just completely whiffed in the playoffs following year, which honestly, like, following the Mike Vrabel scandal, like, I really wonder how much of an effect it's going to have on the team. I have very mixed opinions on that because, like, as a Titans fan, dude, I loved Mike Vrabel, man. Like, he was such a leader of men, and that's, like, weird to say now, like, knowing after, like, what actually went down. Again, like, we don't know the specifics, but, like, we know there was something going on there. So, like, that makes me, like, very conflicted on the inside. But it's like, I still feel like he's a good coach. What, outside of being a coach, who knows? Like, who knows? I'm not the person here to question anybody's character. Like, who knows? But I still think he's a good coach and a good leader of a football team. So, like, I have a feeling that's really not going to affect the squad at all. But it just really comes down to, like, the team itself and the schedule being much, much harder. So, 6-6, let's see what the Patriots can get to. Now, I do think they're going to lose to the Seahawks. Like, I mean, I feel like Vrabel definitely going to have him coached up here, and it definitely could be different with them having two better receivers than they had even close to last year. But I do think the Seahawks kind of take them week 1. And if they don't beat the Steelers here, they can start the season out 0-4. But I do think they get the win over the Steelers here. Be a little close. Be an ugly game, honestly. This might be like one of those weird, like, 14-10 ball games, 17-14. But I think the Patriots do just enough. Now, I don't think it's like they should be able to beat the Jets. I feel like that should be like pretty simple here. But like, I definitely don't think, like, I think they'll definitely struggle to beat the Chargers away from home. I'm actually gonna give the game to the Chargers, which means at 8-8, I do have them beating the Jets, but that means they go 9-8 on the season, and that's definitely not a guarantee at all. They make the playoffs with that record. So again, like, they could squeeze in a wild card spot here, but there's a very realistic chance if the season goes like this that Patriots go from AFC champions to completely missing the playoffs the following year. Which next up, we got the team that's made me horny today. Wait, I have them at 9-4? God, dude, like, to be fair, it's a pretty easy schedule. Like, we already have them beating the Lions, losing to the Ravens, beating the Raiders, beating the Falcons, beating the Vikings, beating the Browns isn't hard, beating the Panthers at home, have them losing to the Bears, beating the Bengals, losing to the Packers, losing to the Panthers away from home, beating the Cardinals, and sweeping the Falcons. It's like, what's the Saints record really about to be here? Now, only 4 more games to predict, and honestly, here in week 6, I do think the Giants get the dub. I just think that front 7 is going to be a little bit too much for that Saints offensive line to handle. In New York as well, I do think they drop their first and 3. I think they actually lose this game at home to the Steelers. It's going to be close, but I think Aaron Rodgers is going to get it done. But still at this point, man, 9-6 is phenomenal. It just comes down to, like, what they do against the Buccaneers in week 15 and week 18. And honestly, I think they split here. I think they lose away from home, but they take down the Bucs in week 18. And at 10-7, that might be good enough to win the NFC South, and at bare minimum should be good enough to nab themselves a wild card spot. So if all things go to plan here, the New Orleans Saints are going to be in the playoffs this year. Now we have ourselves the New York Giants, which so far with the games we've predicted, not so good, sitting at 4-7 on the year, but that could change here. Because in week 5, the trend is going to continue, picking the Giants over the Commanders, who are continuing to have a catastrophic season. Now, it gets tough here in week 9. I don't think they're going to be able to beat the Eagles, especially away from home, so that's going to go to Philadelphia. But again, like, to recap really fast, we already had them losing the first 2 games of the season, very tough start, and then maybe a slight bit of bias here, have them losing to my Titans week 3. 3, but pulling off 3 straight wins against the Cardinals, Commanders, and Saints before dropping 2 in a row, the Texans and Eagles, 2 really tough games away from home. But again, I think they're quite easily going to take down the Commanders this time at home, which brings their record to 6-8 on the year, as they do lose 2 more in a row to the Jags, to the Colts. And in Week 13, you know what? Like I told you guys, I'm not a big believer in the 49ers this year, so let's give the Giants the win here. At home, that front 7 is going to take over, but I don't think the front 7 is enough to take over the game against the Seattle Seahawks away from home, so I am going to go with the Seahawks here, actually, which leads to a win over the Browns, win over the Lions, which is the big one. Again, I just don't like the interior of that Lions offensive line. Like, Penei Sewell was fantastic, obviously. Blake Miller, the first-round rookie, don't really know how well he's going to hold up. So I really do think, again, front 7, that defense is going to win that football game. Don't think they have enough to take down the Cowboys. In a Week 18, part of me wants to give this to the Giants, but they obviously, like, they were good enough to beat the Eagles a year ago. But I do think the Eagles are going to sweep the season series, which means the New York Giants finish John Harbaugh's first year 7-10, which is at least a slight improvement from a year ago. You give them another offseason, and maybe they can actually make the playoffs in 2027. Oh god, this is about to get gross again. Well, I guess that makes it easy. We've already predicted all 17 games in their schedule, and it's not good. It's kind of crazy because I really don't think the Jets are that bad. Like, I mean, like, they're bad. That's why they're 1-16, but they're not like 1-16 bad. It's just like a really tough schedule. Like, obviously, I have them losing to my Titans Week 1, but that could go either way. The Packers is a pretty guaranteed loss, as is really Week 3 and Week 4. Week 5 against the Browns, another game that could really go either way, so that's right there. Could be 2 wins in their schedule already. I think it's pretty guaranteed that they lose to the Patriots Week 6. Their only win coming Week 7 at home against the Dolphins. Again, the Raiders in Week 8, another game where it could go either way. So again, at this point in the season, really easily could have 4 wins. Pretty much guaranteed they lose to the Chiefs, lose to the Bills. Don't see them beating the Chargers away from home. Again, could very easily sweep the season series against the Dolphins. So at that point, that could be 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 wins at this point. Broncos pretty much guaranteed. They could beat the Cardinals. And again, like maybe the Vikings Week 17, but pretty confident they're going to lose the last 3 weeks. So unfortunately, some teams have to win and some teams have to lose. And the Jets, they lost a lot today. But again, would not be shocked if they won maybe up to 5, maybe even 6 games. But sometimes it's just how the cookie crumbles. And today that cookie was Chips Ahoy, because Chips Ahoy is absolute garbage. Now for a team that might actually win more than 1 game. So with everything predicted so far, we got the Eagles sitting at 9-3. Not bad at all after a pretty disappointing season a year ago. Wait, I've been recording for 6 hours? Dude, I gotta lock in here, get this done. I gotta go sleep. 2:39 a.m. by the way, my god. Who needs sleep when you have the Philadelphia Eagles schedule to predict? Which, let's get through this. So Week 1, obviously, as the trend continues, the Commanders lose yet again. Obviously, they beat my Titans Week 2, lose to the Bears Week 3. They beat the Rams, big game in Week 4. Crazy, you beat the Rams, then you lose to Jags the next week. Take down the Panthers, lose to the Cowboys. Now, again, They sweep the Commanders. I'm not kidding you, dude. The Commanders, I don't know if they have a win in their schedule. They followed it up with a win against the Eagles in Week 9, then a bye week, Week 10. Now, Week 11 against the Steelers. Honestly, like, as much as I want Aaron Rodgers to have a great last season, I don't know if he can beat the Eagles in Philadelphia. I just don't think it's in the cards. Now, Week 12, I think they get past the Cowboys away from home. Same thing in Week 13. They beat the Cardinals. Quite easily should be able to beat the Colts in Week 14. Now, Week 15, I think the Seahawks get it done. Like, it's going to be tough for them to win in Philadelphia, but the reigning Super Bowl champions, I think they'll have enough to get the win there. And it's just really kind of crazy. Like, Week 17, you know what? I'm going to give it to the 49ers. We've had the 49ers lose some really close games against some good teams, and actually drop some games against some bad teams. But I don't think the 49ers are bad. I just don't think they're Super Bowl caliber. I think they're like one of those teams that can win any game. Same time, they can lose any game. But at home, again, I wouldn't be shocked if they beat the Eagles. So with them beating the Giants again in Week 18, sweeping that season series, the Eagles finish the season 12-5, probably a game or 2 shy of being able to earn the 1 seed, which again, like, I wouldn't be shocked if after another good regular season, they get first rounded in the playoffs. So, like, I don't know, don't hate me for that. But I just don't know with the loss of A.J. Brown, and, like, unless Jalen Hurts returns to form, like, I don't see how he would. But, like, if Jalen Hurts can play like old Jalen Hurts, like, yeah, maybe they go on a Super Bowl run. But I expect more of the same from a year ago, and without A.J. Brown and having to rely on Devontae Smith and young rookie Mekhi Lemon, I just don't see the offense doing enough to really go in a Super Bowl run. But again, 12-5 is a good season. Now it's Pittsburgh Steelers time. Now, with everything we've already predicted, there's only one game left in their schedule, Week 6 against the Buccaneers, but they currently sit at 9-7 on the season, so this Week 6 matchup is actually a pretty big one. Because they win this game, and they probably clinch a playoff spot. If they lose Week 6, it means they finish 9-8, which doesn't even come close to guaranteeing a wild card spot. But in typical Pittsburgh Steeler fashion, in Aaron Rodgers' last NFL season, I mean, as if he's telling the truth, like we know Aaron Rodgers, I wouldn't mind watching him for another season or two. But he says his last year, I wouldn't be shocked if he pulled a Tom Brady, came back and played another year after this. But regardless, Week 1 do have him taking down the Falcons. They're losing to the reigning AFC champions in Week 2. Good win against the Bengals, good division win against the Browns, beat the Colts out of the AFC South, and again, Week 6, undecided. Good win against the Saints, which we all know is apparently one of my favorite teams in this video. They sweep the Browns, split the season series against the Bengals. Tough game, they lose away from home against the Eagles, but then a really good win next week at home against the Broncos. They lose to 2 straight AFC South teams before beating the Ravens, another really big win at home. Disappointing loss against the Panthers Week 16 before taking down my Titans, then losing to the Ravens, splitting that season series in Week 18. It's just like prototypical Steelers fashion. Like, they start the season off on a heater and then kind of, go on a stinker run second half of the year, lose some games they shouldn't have. And it's like, I really feel like this Steelers team is a playoff caliber roster. First year without Mike Tomlin in what, like 20 years? Mike McCarthy takes over, which automatically means that offense should be astronomically better. Him and Aaron Rodgers have history, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a massive step forward from that offense, which is going to have to be the case if this team is going to make the playoffs. Not to mention, they traded for Michael Pittman, so he's going to be a big wide receiver too. And I do love the draft pick of Jeremy Bernard in that second round. As an Alabama fan watching him in college, the guy does not drop the football. You will never see the ball hit that guy's hands and him drop it. There's no chance. So Michael Pittman, DK Metcalf, and Jeremy Bernard makes an astronomically better wide receiver core than what Aaron Rodgers had to work with a year ago. Man, Ben Skoranek and freaking Calvin Austin out there running routes. They drafted an offensive lineman in the first round, so that should help him out. Jaquan Brisker should help out that secondary and the defensive side of things. So it's like, I really do like this football team. And as much as I've talked about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today, give me the Steelers in Week 6 to improve their record to 10-7 on the year. I don't think that's good enough to win the AFC North, but that should easily be good enough for a wild card spot, and we should be able to see Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs for at least one more time. And I'm not gonna lie, and I don't want to get ahead of myself or anything, but like, it just feels like a Ray Lewis type situation. I just remember back in 2013, yes, I made a playoff prediction video back then, and I've had the Ravens win the Super Bowl just because I had that feeling. Ray Lewis, his last season, his last hurrah, you just knew the cards were to come together. He's gonna win that Super Bowl. Like, I would feel the same way about Aaron Rodgers here if you like going into the playoff run knowing it's his last ever time. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not doing playoff predictions in this video. That will be in my season prediction, like closer to August. But again, I just like wouldn't be shocked. I think the team is good enough for the Steelers to maybe really go on a legitimate Super Bowl run. Okay, San Francisco 49er time, which again is a real interesting team. Like, I genuinely don't know right now if I'm gonna have them making the playoffs or not. So we've already predicted 14 49ers games, so really all it comes down to is the 2 games against the Seahawks and Week 6 against the Commanders. I think we all know what's going to happen there, so might as well go ahead and click that. So whether or not the 49ers actually make the playoffs this season, it really comes down to how they fare against the reigning Super Bowl champions. But first, we do have them losing the opener against the Rams, which I don't think is too far-fetched. 3 straight wins, though, against the Dolphins, Cardinals, and Broncos. That Broncos game being a big dub. Like you just saw, I have them winning against the Commanders, dude. Like, I honestly, like, I might go to the Commanders' schedule and it might be 0-17. I might have to figure something out because there's like, the Commanders are going to win some games. I think they're going to be very bad, but like, it's been weird how things have gone today. Now, I do have them losing the Falcons, which might be a little surprising, but the Falcons, they always pull out a couple crazy wins. They're going to take care of the Raiders. A tough loss away from home against the Cowboys Week 10, and again, another tough loss at home against the Vikings, which they like, you'd think they should win this game. Another matchup against the Seahawks Week 12. That front seven, again, like I mentioned, I think is going to take over this game, and they are going to get swept, I believe, by, in my opinion, the Super Bowl favorites. They do get a big win, though, following that up against the Chargers. Lose to the Chiefs, which isn't too crazy. But 2 big wins to finish the season against the Eagles and Cardinals, which has a record, like I said, at 8-7. So it all comes down to what happens against the Seahawks. It's like really weird too, man, because it's like Kyle Shanahan is such an incredible coach. But unfortunately, at the same time, I feel like him and that front office has done a really bad job of talent acquisition. And that's pretty important, you know, and it's just been apparent, like their depth, wide receiver room is bad. I say that, I suppose if Mike Evans comes in and can play like he did in his prime, that might be enough. George Kittle, who knows when he's coming back, but I suppose even when George Kittle's out, Jake Tonges comes in and plays like an all-pro. It's like outside of Trent Williams, I'm not the biggest fan of that offensive line. And I hate to say this, I'm not trying to like be bad luck or like I'm not trying to manifest anything, but you just feel like CMC's due for an injury. It's been a little unusual over the past couple seasons. And at the same time, even if he doesn't get injured or anything, he plays all 17 games, his metrics are already starting to go down a little bit. He's still catching the ball out of the backfield really well, but he's just not a great runner of the football anymore. And you would suppose with him about to turn 30, that's gonna get even worse. And it's like, I'm not really a fan of the front 7. The secondary leaves a little bit to be desired. So it's definitely not even close to the most talented Kyle Shanahan team we've ever seen, but he's just such an incredible coach that he has enough talent to still pull out at least 8 wins on the schedule. But rather or not, make the playoffs, it really comes down to, like I said, the last 2 games. I don't think they beat the Seahawks away from home, like no chance. Oh wait, bat, wrong click. I really, like at this point, I suppose George Kittle should be healthy. If the team remains intact and stays healthy, which like that just hasn't been the case over the last few years, they have no room at all for injuries. But in this perfect world, as I said, I can't predict injuries. In this perfect world, I think they get the win here. That puts the 49ers at a 9-8 record, and it kind of leaves it up to fate, you know, if they make the playoffs or not. They could, they just have to get lucky with some of the tiebreakers. And next, we got the reigning Super Bowl champs. Of course, the only game not predicted so far is the Commanders in Week 3, so who knows what we're going to do there. I'll save Week 3 for last so we can build suspense, but I already had them taking down the Patriots in the Super Bowl rematch in Week 1. Should have no problem with the Cardinals away from home. Do have them losing the Chargers, which is going to be tough. Like, the Chargers are a good team. We just discussed. Do have them beating the 49ers in Week 5. A tough game. It's always tough going to Denver. Really good defense over there and an improved offense. Then they win 2 straight extremely tough games at home against the Chiefs and Bears in back-to-back weeks. Gets a little bit easier beating the Cardinals at home than beating the Raiders away from home. Again, the toss-up game here in Week 12, I did give the 49ers the edge. Then 3 dubs in a row against 3 quality football teams, 2 at home against the Cowboys and Giants, and a really tough game in Philadelphia where they get the dub. But this is obviously what's going to be kind of controversial with Seahawks fans. I do have them getting swept by the Rams, which is crazy how they don't play until Week 16, and they play twice in 3 weeks. And in between that, they do get a win over the Panthers, which that could be a sneaky game, man. Like, if something's coming down to the wire here, like maybe a first-round bye, or like maybe the division as a whole, like that Panthers game could be kind of sneaky, kind of slapped right in between that. It's like, I know the Seahawks are reigning Super Bowl champions, but it's like I do expect them to take a step backwards since they lost quite a few players, especially off of that defense. They lose Kenneth Walker, the freaking Super Bowl MVP. Zach Charbonnet's injured, so they are going to be relying on their first-round pick Jadarian Price on offense. You gotta hope for Seahawks fans it's not like a Rashad Penny situation all over again. They did lose a little bit off of that defense. I don't think the team's going to take a big step backwards at all. Like, don't get me wrong, but I do think they're going to be slightly worse than a year ago. So I really don't know if they can go back to back. I mean, like, who knows? I mean, there's a reason very few teams ever done it. But I think at 11-5 and definitely at 12-5, they'll have the shot. Not going to get them a first round bye, and unfortunately for their sake, is not going to win them the division because I have the Rams having the best record in the NFC. But with the Seahawks, with the schedule that you get for winning the Super Bowl, don't think you can be too mad at a 12-5 season. All right, for me personally, this is an exciting one. Tampa Bay Buccaneers time, which at this point, I already have the entire freaking schedule predicted. Dang, I have them going 9-8, dude. With the way I talked about them today, you'd think I had them going like at least 15-2. What in the world? It's like, to be fair though, it is a really tough schedule. And it's like in the NFC South, there's no real like world beaters or anything, but there's like 3 teams that are kind of like the same quality, so I do have them split in a few of those series. And they have some big wins here. Like, they're beating the Bengals in Week 1, got a big road win against the Cowboys week 5. Have them beating the freaking Rams, beating the Chargers, beating the Lions away from home. It's had a pretty stinky start to the season. I know that Vikings loss is kind of crazy. I don't think it's far-fetched they lose to the Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to get the best of them week 6. Like I said, I have them split in some of the season series, so I do have them losing to the Panthers. After losing to the Falcons, it's going to be tough for them to go on the road, beat the Chicago Bears. But following that bye week, after getting the rest up a little bit, 3-game winning streak against the Lions, Panthers, and Chargers. I don't think they can get it done, though, away from home against the Ravens. But a win against a really good Saints team, then a loss away from home against the Falcons, as we already mentioned. One of the biggest wins of the entire season over the Rams. And then splitting the season series against the Saints, which takes the record to 9-8. And as good as a team I think they could be, I don't know if 9-8 can make the playoffs for them. It would have won the division a year ago, but I think with how good I had the Saints doing this year, I don't know if that'd actually be enough to win the South. Oh God, we've already done the Titans, which of course leads us to the Washington Commanders. This, honest to God, might go down in history as like one of the worst predictions on the internet. Like, this schedule is just so freaking tough, man. Like, starting off, the Eagles, Cowboys, Seahawks, that's crazy. Like, I don't think there's any chance they win any of these 3 games. Like, the Colts and Giants for them are kind of toss-ups, I mean, especially at home, but I just feel like they're both better teams. I could even maybe see them beating the 49ers, so, like, I wouldn't be shocked if they won 1, maybe even 2 of these 3 games in this stretch, but, like, I just don't feel like there's any chance, even at home, they're not going to beat the Eagles, they're not going to beat the Rams. And I don't feel very confident at all if they could beat the Giants at home week 5, much less winning in New York week 10. Don't think there's any way they beat the Bengals week 11. Cardinals, that is a toss-up, but man, it is in Arizona. Kind of same thing with my Titans here week 13, but man, that's in Tennessee. That Texans front sevens can be too much for them. Falcons and Vikings games, I really could see being a toss-up. I don't think they have what it takes to beat the Jags, and again, I think they get swept by the Cowboys. Which, like, if I'm going off the schedule that I predicted up to this point, wait, what am I talking about? I gave them the win over the Colts. I honestly thought I had them going 0-17. I mean, it's not much better at all, but if we're going off the schedules that we've predicted up to this point in time, I have the Commanders going 1-16. But hold on a second. I'm forcing you to allow me this one bogey. I feel like with them being the last team and like the other ones getting preference, I feel like I didn't give them a fair shot. So what I am going to do is disregard all the other schedules I have predicted, and I'm going to go through and predict the Commanders schedule one by one. It's not going to affect the other schedules. Like, just allow me this. It kind of defeats the purpose, you know, the mathematical laws of the universe. But let me predict the Commanders schedule on their own without ruining anything else. It's just like we really need to see Jaden Daniels return to his rookie form, and we obviously need him to stay healthy. I don't like that running back room at all. It was atrocious last year, and even with them drafting Katron Allen and signing Rachaad White, I don't expect it to be that much better. Behind Terry McLaurin, man, the wide receiver room is bad, dude. They got to rely on Antonio Williams, and I'm honestly not his biggest fan. I love Chigakonkwo, though. Former Tennessee Titan, I was distraught that we lost him. He'll probably honestly be the wide receiver 2 in that offense. Honestly, probably the worst blocking tight end that's going to start this season. But it's like Terry McLaurin and Chigakonkwo being your only 2 real targets on offense. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's not like their offensive line is the greatest in the world or anything. And that defense, man, it's horrible. Like, I'm not a fan of the defense at all. Very mediocre pass rush. I love Sonny Styles, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the defense was too bad to draft an off-the-ball linebacker, which I say that Sonny Styles was incredible value when they drafted him, but it's just like, man, how much does that really improve that defense for this upcoming season? The secondary's bad. It just is what it is. But with Jaden Daniels at the helm, I refuse to believe they're a one-win football team. So again, please allow me to break all the laws of physics here and just go one by one with this Commander schedule and not let it affect anything else. It's not going to be much better. Like, they're going to win more than 1 game. So I don't think it's any question they're going to lose the first 3 games of the season. Let me get, like, the for sure losses out of the way. I think they definitely lose to the 49ers in San Francisco. They're going to get swept by the Eagles. They're definitely not beating the Rams. They're not going to beat the Bengals. The one game I'll stick true to is my Titans game. I'm a Titans fan. I do think the Titans win that one. I don't think they can beat the Texans. I don't think they can beat the Jags. and I don't think they can beat the Cowboys. So, like, that's already 11 losses on the schedule, dude. So, like I said, it's not going to be much better than one win. Now, I did have them beating the Colts, so I'll go ahead and lock that down. You know what? Just for the sake of saying so, let's say they split the series with the Giants. Let's say they beat them at home, but lose away from home. And again, just, to make their fans feel a little bit better, let's say they do beat the Cardinals, and let's say they split these two games, week 15 and week 16. So let's say they beat the Falcons at home, but lose the following week to the Vikings in Minnesota, giving them a 5-12 record. And honestly, dude, if you're a Commanders fan, the best thing for you this season is probably to have a bad year. Like, hopefully Jaden Daniels can play sort of like he did his rookie year, but at the same time, finish with hopefully a top 3, top 5 pick, so you can land one of either Jeremiah Smith or Cam Coleman, so you can add yourself a true number 1 receiver to that diabolical wide receiver room. So yes, I have the Washington Commanders going 5-12. Again, that math doesn't add up with the other schedules, but I don't know, dude, bite me. I do want to apologize, fellas. Being 6.5, 7 hours into this recording, my brain's starting to fry a little bit. I misclicked. I was wondering where the 5 wins came from. The Giants were supposed to win in week 10, so the record's 4-13. So honestly, that probably will get you a top 5, top 4 pick. So as you can probably tell from my bloodshot eyes, we've officially predicted the schedule of all 32 NFL teams, which now means it's the time for 2 different things. First of all, time for you to go tell me how much of a dumb hick I am in the comments. Number 2, it's time for me to take a very long nap. Now, if you guys don't completely hate my guts after that, you can click right here to watch another video that hopefully doesn't trigger you as much.